final round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship is about half an hour away from taking to the track here at Donington Park. The Donington Decider has become a thing over the last few years, and yet again an ultra-competitive championship is going to go down to the wire. Championships, in fact, because we have titles on the line outright in GT3 and in GT4 for the different spec of car, and then within there are classes for the Pro-Ams, the Silvers and the Silver-Ams also to be resolved over a 2-hour race, mandatory pit stop and driver changes. The track temperature a mere 12.1 degrees, but at least it's dry, and that is something of a novelty after the awful weather that we've had in the last couple of days. This is going to be a really good final round of the championship. We'll discuss points in a few moments' time. It's the 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit in use. David Addison is in the box. Bryn Lucas will patrol the pits, and GT racer Joe Osborne is also down on the grid. And Joe, this promises to be a really great way to round out the year, doesn't it?
Yeah, super excited. I found the quietest bit of track at the moment. The grid is empty of cars. They'll be leaving the pit lane in the next couple of minutes. It gives us a good chance just to see the conditions and weather that you were talking to. Directly underfoot here on the sort of typical racing line on the straight, all good. We can just see here on the first row, but they're outside. So P2, where Darren Leung will be starting, just a little bit damp underfoot. And although it's a rolling start, so you don't have that sort of necessary grip to get off the line, these cars are so powerful, they're still going to want a wheel spin all the way up to turn 1. So I'm really worried for the guys on that outside, on the left-hand row here, that their run to turn 1 is going to be pretty compromised. But like you said, David, I'm super excited for 120 minutes of a Donington Decider coming up soon.
Joe, I'm with you. Can't wait. It is going to be a really good end to the season. Safety car is there on an, as yet, empty circuit, but the pit lane will open very shortly indeed. Of course, British GT has this mixture of, such as this, 2-hour races, the double-header 1-hour races, and the 3-hour at Silverstone as well. And it is fair to say that 2023's Intelligent Money British GT Championship has been, certainly thus far, a fantastic season. Let's look at the best bits and how we got to this point. The opening round then of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship from Alton Park is go. There going wide is Sam Neary. He's off the road. This might not end well. He's in the gravel. There's one more corner. There's one more chance to send it up the inside. Ross Gunner's not given up. Can't get the car slowed down in time. They're both deep into the corner. It's going to be the Mercedes that wins. Johnny Adam wins at Alton Park. Second over the line is Ross Gunn. Round 2 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship is go. But off the road goes Sam Neary, going backward at high speed.
See Marshall on the grass, on the barrier comes close, a little bit of gravel, he's going to slap the barrier.
Ian Logie and Jules Gounon win round 2 of the British GT Championship from Alton Park. Behind is Ian Goff, who is going to win in GT4.
Round number 3 of the season gets underway when the red lights go out. That happens now. He's got the inside line for Luffield, drips out wide, Harper goes up the inside, and Harper makes it stick with some terrific side-by-side racing. It will be the race victory for Optimum Motorsport in GT4.
It is round 4 of the British GT Championship is go as the lights change.
Marshall had broken the steering arm. You can see the front left tyre suddenly turn hard left. As we go back to GT4, they're going to run out the old hairpin. Can he go all the way around the outside? Got the inside now into McLean's. That slow-mo is brutal, isn't it?
Terrifying. Round 4 of British GT Championship won by Johnny Adam and James Cottingham at Donington Park. Well, this is a win for the second time for Jack Brown and Charles Clark.
The second half of the British GT Championship, Sean Bell from pole position, gets us underway.
It's just contact there, wasn't it? Saw Plato load up the rear to the inside.
Sandy brings the car out of the final turn. He will see the checkered flag. Across the line goes Sandy Mitchell, Barwell victorious here at Snetterton. The 6th round of the British GT Championship. Ross Gunn will get the race underway from pole position. And Harper already on his toes trying to find a way past Jules Gounon. Side by side for the race lead. But the win here in the second race at Snetterton goes to Ram Racing, and it's John Ferguson and Raffaele Marcello. It was Jack Brown and Charles Clark victorious in GT4.
For round 7 of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. First time the series has been to Portimao. It's blast off. Off the road goes 22, that's the Carl Cavers BMW. There for the stop-go penalty, Darren Leung. Should be the race lead, surely. He's got the inside line. Cottingham is ahead, though. He's done it right round the outside. Brilliant job done by James Cottingham. Then it's going to be victory for Johnny Adam and James Cottingham here at Portimao. Michael Johnston and Chris Solkel win in GT4 to the delight of all concerned. This is round 8 of the British GT Championship. The big story of the race is going to be the first corner, and James Cottingham makes a better start. Great start by Cottingham, and there's drama. Loggy has gone around. Kevin Sainz got caught up in it. John Ferguson avoids, and there are others in the gravel. McLarens are off. Mustangs are off. Mayhem breaks out at turn 1. Charles Clark, number 90, has a lock-up, and the back starts to go, doesn't it? And then Ian Goff goes off, but there was a little bit of smoke. Yes, lots of cars go off. Down they come. Radcliffe gets involved with it. They both go off into the gravel. Richard Neary is stuck in the boonies. There's a Ginetta, kaboom, that he gets involved with. More fragments of bodywork fly.
Harper's got the run, he's got it. He's got to just break at the same point.
Fantastic. Dan Harper takes over the lead. Great news for the championship for him and for Darren Leung. BMW wins at Brands. Is number 61, Matt Cowley, heading for GT4 honours. They're waiting for the photo finish on there. They want the Lambo to go, then they can get the two Mustangs together.
That gave me a huge amount of stress. Mega result for that academy team. Done really, really well.
This, ladies and gents, is it. After 8 races, 14 hours and 451 laps, the Intelligent Money British GT Championship boils down to Donington Decider. And as history tells us, absolutely anything could happen over the final 120 minutes. 2Cs wrapped up the GT3 Teams title at Brands Hatch, but everything else is still in play this weekend. That's GT3 Overall, Pro-Am and Silver-Am, plus GT4 Overall, Pro-Am, Silver and Teams. 4 drivers remain in GT3's overall championship battle. However, just 3 of them, James Cottingham, Darren Leung and Dan Harper, are here this weekend. That's because ELMS commitments have prevented Johnny Adam from joining his regular 2Cs co-driver, Cottingham. They currently enjoy a 13-point advantage, but cannot possibly share the championship if Century's BMW finishes 5th or higher. That would force Cottingham to score further points and leave Adam stranded in 3rd. Regardless, pit stop compensation time is likely to prove a major factor. Leung and Harper have an extra 20 seconds for winning at Brands, while Cottingham, who's joined by Mercedes-AMG driver Philip Ellis, has plus 10. The overall champion is also likely, but not necessarily guaranteed, to top the Pro-Am standings. Cottingham and Adam currently lead those by 21.5 points. There's also GT3's Silver Am class, where 3 crews remain in mathematical title contention. Sky Tempest's Kevin Zay and Chris Froggatt lead Barwell's Mark Sansom and Will Tregurtha by 9.5 points. That's less than the difference between finishing 1st and 2nd, while Ian Campbell and James Kell must hope both rivals non-score to have any chance. So that's the first half of the grid covered. Now for GT4, where 2 of these 12 drivers will be crowned overall champion on Sunday afternoon. Jack Brown and Charles Clark start as favourites, but things are seldom simple at Donington. Optimum's McLaren still enjoys a 10.5-point advantage, despite a rotten run of recent results that has helped Michael Johnston and Chris Selkeld close in over the second half of this year. Century's pairing looks set to win the Pro-Am title, but have an extra 10 seconds of compensation time that will hamper their overall championship chances. Brands Hatch winners Eric Evans and Matt Cowley are 6 points further back, so, on paper at least, still have a chance. However, their maximum compensation time and Silver Cup handicap equates to 46 seconds extra in the pits. The final 3 contenders are also championship long shots, thanks to their considerable deficits. Racelab's Ian Goff and Tom Wrigley start 34 points behind, while Century's Carl Cavers and Lewis Plato and DTO's Josh Rowledge and Aston Miller are 36 adrift. This trio's task is simple: win and hope others have a nightmare afternoon. So there you have it. Season 31 is almost done and dusted. But who will be champions? Donington decides.
Tom Hornsby reporting on who has to do what and how in order to win the championship. We'll be asking questions later to make sure you're all paying attention, because inevitably it is a little bit complex. GT3 slightly easier to get a grip on. James Cottingham then has a new co-driver for the weekend. That's going to be Phil Ellis, the Mercedes AMG factory driver, who is Anglo-Swiss German but has never raced in the UK before, so he's got a lot of learning to do, as well as helping James Cottingham win a championship. Much to look for on track, much to keep abreast of in the pits as well. And patrolling the pits for the 2 hours of the race when it gets underway is going to be Bryn Lucas. He's down on the grid at the moment, and Bryn, the tension is building, yes?
Very, very much so, David. You know what? There's a huge crowd here, which is always good to see at the Donington Decider. Greasy conditions on track. The weather is starting to get cloudy. It does feel very, very nervy, that kind of feeling that only the Donington Decider can bring. Something we're very much looking forward to. Now, this year is the 20th anniversary of the SRO being a part of the British GT. It's been quite some journey. Here's a quick look back.
If I have a dream, it's one day to see, maybe next year, maybe the year after, I would see 2 red Ferrari, 2 green Aston Martin and 2 yellow Lamborghinis would make the championship the biggest in the UK. So that is my goal, and I hope I'll succeed.
Oh, and Tomlins has made a mistake. Kinch has got in front. Kinch is ahead. The checker flag is out, and that means the Ferrari has won.
Both drivers drove the wheels off the car. The car was fabulous.
Jonathan Cocker can wrap up the title in this race. It is a possibility, but will he work hard to stay in front of Nathan Kinch? Jonathan Cocker has done it. He is champion in the week that he turned 18 years old.
Absolutely fantastic. I'd just like to thank everybody at Group M, Kenny, all the engineers.
Ready for the final hour of the championship. Round 14 is about to get underway. Alex Mortimer then will come out of the final corner here at Rockingham and take the British GT Championship title.
It's been so hard, I can't tell you, in the last fortnight we've had the truck on fire and, everything has been going against us. All the guys have worked so hard, it's just overwhelming.
My first ever season racing. It's going to be a real tough one.
The track race to the line, this just, I think, from Aston Martin.
A finish like that has never been had in British GT.
Daniele Perfetti and Michael Payne win the 2012 British GT Championship.
Fantastic track, probably one of the best you could race at, but you don't want to go off.
See the boy in the car there, you realise the gravity of this whole thing. This is far more nerve-wracking than going out on stage with Quo, I can tell you that.
The GT4 title goes to Ryan Ratcliffe and Rick Parfitt Jr.
Champagne now, isn't it?
Round 1 of the Avon Tyres British GT Championship for 2015, and perfect conditions at Alton Park. 16-year-old Jamie Chadwick and 18-year-old Ross Kahn, who claimed victory by over a lap in the Beach Dean Aston Martin. The youngest championship pairing ever have claimed the title.
I've just had an awesome year. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, the championship's been mega and absolutely over the moon, and yeah, delighted to get the win.
This car is actually McLaren's test car, so it's the one that does all the mileage. And we're like, can we borrow it? They said, well, yeah, as long as you wrap it, and we've got a lot of new parts on it and what have you.
It is round 2 of the British GT Championship. First ever Intelligent Money British GT Championship win goes to Martin Plowman and Kelvin Fletcher.
The conditions are pretty tricky initially, but yeah, the car felt mega.
In GT4 land though, it looks as though it's going to be a championship for SRO Motorsports. Richard Williams and Sennan Fielding out of the last corner. What a drive that was from Sennan in the second stint. Ian Logie is going to be a very, very popular British GT champion.
Congratulations, Ian Logie. You're the GT3 champion 2022. Well done. And just like that, 20 years goes in a flash. Well, I'm with the man himself, Stefan Rattel there. The vision, the dream to see 2 Lamborghini, 2 Ferrari here out on track. Well, here we are, 20 years on, 17 cars in GT3, 17 cars in GT4, and 7 different manufacturers. It's been an amazing journey to get to this stage.
20 years, time flies. We're still here. We don't have the 2 red Ferraris. The Lamborghinis are not yellow. But we do have a fantastic grid, and the championship has gone from strong to stronger, year on year.
But globally as well.
Yeah, the GT racing, GT3, GT4 is a global phenomenon, of course. We as SRO promote 13 this year, 15 next year championships on 4 continents in 25, 26 different countries. So yeah, it's GT racing is big now.
It's great to see it going from strength to strength year on year as well. Let's have a quick look ahead though to 2024. We've got the Donington Decider right now, so we don't know what's going to happen at the end of 2023, but 2024 we're expecting bigger and even better if that's possible.
I think we usually reach full grid capacity. I think for next year looks like we have a request over capacity, so we're going to have to go into a selection process, which is never something easy to do, but that's a good proof of the championship success, which has been doing extremely well. I mean, we had a little dive after the financial crisis in 2008 and another one during COVID, but the championship always bounced back to where it is, to where it should be, and it's good.
Long live British GT, that's what I say. There we go, the voice and the face, Stefan Rattel himself. Now we're going to hear from some of the drivers in just a bit, but before so, let's go back up to David Addison.
Brilliant, thanks, yes. And for those of us old enough to have been here in 1993, when the National Sports GT Challenge started, the forerunner to British GT, which was an all-Porsche grid, I tell you, the championship hasn't half moved on. What you have now is the envy of many countries, GTC, and it is a stellar cast that we have ready for 2 hours of racing. James Cottingham bringing the Mercedes to the grid, and of course, as we've been saying, it is Mercedes versus BMW for the title. Now, Dan Harper will take over Darren Leung's BMW. Before we go racing, let's hear the thoughts of Dan Harper. He's about to be in conversation with Joe Osborne.
Thank you. Thank you, David. Yeah, so we've got Dan Harper here, and we're actually just walking up the grid together, having a bit of a game plan chat about what we're going to do. Obviously, Darren's been mega this year. Did you have any final instructions to give him? Any advice that you want him to do at the end of the first lap? Where do you want him to be? Kind of vibes.
At the front. I think it's going to be an important start. Obviously, we see here the tarmac, there's still some damp patches, so it could be tricky offline in the first corner. I've just told him to stay calm. I mean, in this situation, it's so easy. All the hype is around 2 cars, really. We being one of them, thankfully. And he just needs to stay calm, stay relaxed, do what he's been doing all season, because he's been doing a very good job. And he just needs to do what he knows he can do. He's on the outside for turn 1, so that's the drier line, I would say. So I've told him to brake deep, try and get the engine braking going, and try hang it around the outside with nothing to lose. So full send, and if he can come out the first corner in the lead, get the head down and go for it.
Mega. Well, I'm sold on it. I believe in you. You got a lucky stroke there from Rafael Marciello, so I don't think it gets much better than that. With the BMW, do you have any kind of launch, any boost system that you can run as the lights obviously go off? Can you help build the boost? Obviously, in the big turbo, you don't really want it that laggy, do you, when the lights do turn off?
Yeah, exactly. We have a little system in the car. We can also use the brake to try and build up the turbos. So I've taught him that throughout the year, and he's definitely been getting there. So I think he knows what to do, and hopefully he can just do the best job that we all know he can do.
Awesome, mate. Best of luck. Lovely. I hope you replicate your 2019 Buildup GP. And as if by magic, the teammate Darren Leung has turned up. I'm going to really open the door and throw it in here. Darren, mate, how are we feeling? Give it to me in a short sentence if you can.
Awesome. Cannot wait to get going.
Feel any pressure at all? Twofold. One, the championship, but also you've recently had a daughter born 3 weeks ago, her first race. I remember having my first race with my son there, and I felt this massive pressure to perform. I didn't want him to look badly upon me as a father. Any of that, or have I just given you a new problem to worry about?
No, I think maybe earlier in the week there was a bit of that, but then close to race weekend, you've got to shut all that stuff out. And it's just about one thing, getting through that next apex as quick as we can, and then on to the next one.
Mate, I see it in your eyes. I believe in you. Best of luck for your stint. Have fun, all right? If we've got time, I think I'd like to go and see James Cottingham. So if you want to come with me, Guy, just a few grids slots back. We've got John Seal in the Lamborghini there, his first race back in British GT, 74 years old. So hope when I'm 74, I'm still able to drive a car, among other things. Ian Loggy, former champion there, and his teammate in the sister car is James Cottingham here. So he's got a lot of adoring fans. His standing teammate, Philip Ellis, sitting there blocking me from getting in. How you doing?
Good, how are
Yeah,
you?
not bad. Have a quick word with James, please.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. James.
Hello, mate.
You've looked the favourite all year, in my opinion, for this championship.
Thank you for saying.
This is the last race. How are you feeling? Do you feel like you're still the favourite and this is yours to lose?
I think I learned last year that this championship is very much about penalties, whether it's success penalty or making mistakes and having BWPs and all that sort of stuff. So we've tried to be as clean as possible this whole year. I think we've done the best job we can. Yesterday we were super unlucky, so I think today we just need a bit of luck, but I've just got to race like I did at race 2 at Snetterton, be up there but not make any dangerous decisions, no mistakes, and just be there at the end. And I think with the way that all the success penalties will pan out, we should be good for it as long as we can do that and deliver.
Awesome. You've been mega this year of your pace. Just speaking with Darren, you're both so confident. One of you's got to give. I'm not going to call which one it is, but this is going to be a mega 2 hours. David, back to you, mate.
Joe, thanks very much. So we're getting closer to the formation lap getting underway, and this is how we stand in the championship. Johnny Adam and James Cottingham ahead on 162, 149 is the score of Dan Harper and Darren Leung, and Johnny Adam, of course, is away in Portugal racing in the European Le Mans Series, hence he's not here this weekend. Right, GT4 needs to be addressed as well, and Bryn Lucas has found himself in the GT4 part of the grid.
I have indeed, and I'm next to Seb Hopkins, who put in an absolute blinder of a performance with your teammate Josh Miller yesterday to get yourself pole position for a season for you guys that hasn't quite gone to plan.
Yeah, for sure. It's obviously a nice thing to be on pole position on the last round of the championship. We've also had a pole at Portugal, so we've shown, the pace we've had. It's obviously kind of the start of the year that really kind of put us on the back foot. But I think now, we're really showing what we can do.
Yeah, very best of luck to you both this afternoon as well. There you go, Seb Hopkins. Let's take a little walk down here and find the championship leaders. The top 3 covered off by just 16.5 points. It is remarkably close in GT4, and Charles Clark is standing alongside his car right now. And you've got a thumbnail on the trophy, but as I just said, 16.5 points separates the top 3. It's very, very tight.
Yeah, it makes it exciting for the last race. We didn't have a very good day yesterday, but luckily we were on P3 ahead of the championship contenders, so we're going to give it everything today.
And of course you have the bonus as well, the compensation pit stop time being less than some of those around you.
Yeah, exactly. So we just need to stay out of trouble and bring the car home. We've had quite bad luck recently, so I think that's the main aim.
We've been talking a little bit about British GT and how competitive it's been this season. We look around 17 cars in this race in GT4, and there's 7 different manufacturers across all the different categories as well. And it's just phenomenal to see the level of competition and how many factory drivers there are too.
Yeah, exactly. It's an absolutely massive grid this year, and it's been super competitive through GT3 and GT4. But luckily, McLaren have built such a fast car this year, which it's really helped us. And the guys of Optimum have done a great job all year, so looking to repay them.
Well, we wish you all the very best of luck. We'll catch up with you a little bit later on. There you go, the stage is now set, so back up to you, David, to call what is going to be an epic Donington decider.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bryn. We're not far away, and on the 22nd of October 1938, the Donington Grand Prix was won in an Auto Union by Tazio Nuvolari, and that is also being recreated on the grid with the Tazio Nuvolari look-alike in front of the pole position Aston Martin, which is going to be started by Andrew Howard, and bits of the Donington circuit of 1938 still in existence. In the very background of the shot with his purple woolly hat on, Tom Ingram, the 2022 British Touring Car champion, who is making his GT4 debut. British GT, first time we've seen him. Normally Ting has a lot to say for himself. Let's see whether Bryn Lucas can get a word in edgeways.
Getting a word in edgeways with a man in the bobble hat is always tricky, but Tom, you're here. It's great to see you here. You've caused a lot of chat around the pit lane as well, the fact that you are here. What's the story?
Only good, I hope.
Only good? Only
good, I hope. Yeah, the bobble hat is necessary because you don't want to see it. This is winter hair underneath here. It's terrible. Honestly, I've loved it. I've had such a good weekend so far. Ron's enjoying it. We're enjoying it. It's nice to come into it and be kind of new to something and feel like I'm the new kid on the block and learn as I'm going through. I've had a great time driving the car. First time we properly drove it in the dry was in qualifying yesterday, which was an eye-opening experience. Feels great. I'm really, really enjoying it.
Absolutely. It was great to see you here. It's great to see you out in a GT4 car. Is that a sign of things to come, do you think?
Is it? Is it not? Who knows? I'm up for anything. I just love my racing. GT4, GT3, whatever it is, I'm having a great time.
Tom Ingram, he's such a tease.
But he does drive a racing car pretty rapidly, and you will see that when he gets on board the GT4 Aston. He was an absolute gun in his part of qualifying yesterday. Quick word about how the grid is formed. It is based on the aggregated times of the 2 drivers. And there is the car that Ron Johnson will start and that Tom Ingram will take over. It is the last one on the grid, so it's way, way back round the left-hander of Goddard's on the grid, but the cars will eventually, of course, be much closer once we get them underway for the rolling start. So it stretches right the way back round Goddard's and the GT4 section, all behind GT3, so you don't have the speed differential on the opening lap of the race. Well, the grid is formed. We are about 4 minutes or so away from the formation lap getting underway. The Sky Tempesta McLaren will be started here by Kevin Say, who's looking a bit nervous in the car, Joe.
Yeah, twiddling his feet around, isn't he? Trying to work out if he was just checking his brake pressures and brake bias. But yeah, that car actually has a drive-through penalty before we've even started for a bizarre incident in qualifying, actually. Kevin was weaving his tyres and lost control, according to race control. And then Simon Orange hit the back of them and ruled them both out of both sessions of qualifying. So they're in contention for the Silver Am Championship. So they've got it really hard, and they've got to try and get back up to the Lamborghini of Sansom and Tregurtha, that their main rivals in that championship.
Just pretend for a minute you're James Cottingham. How do you go about your stint? Do you keep out of trouble, because the danger then is that you let so many people by, you get yourself in trouble, or do you go out and try and get into the lead of the race? How do you win this championship?
I'd open up my mobile banking app and transfer that nice Joe Osborne some money first. But I think you've always just got to go with what you see in front of you. And by that I mean space. If it's congested in front, you can't afford the damage. You need your get out of jail card. I need to stay on the brake a little bit longer and avoid contact. If there's space in front, you've got to fill it and get on the front foot. As soon as you go defensive and slow, the chances of you getting hit from the rear go up. So you're always obsessed with you hitting someone, but obviously there's 34 cars on the grid that can hit you, so you also need to sort of factor that in. It's a really difficult call to make, right or wrongly, we'll see very shortly.
So the formation lap is underway. Not the start of the race, but a chance to get warmth into the tyres. And this is how they line up. These are the start drivers before the pit stop at roughly halfway. Andrew Howard on pole, Darren Leung second in the championship, lining up alongside ahead of the outgoing champion Ian Loggie. 74-year-old John Seal fourth ahead of championship leader James Cottingham. Miguel Ramos starts sixth ahead of Morgan Tilbrook, and then Mark Radcliffe. Ian Campbell is ninth on the grid, and Mike Price, who had a spin this morning in the warm-up, is 10th. Sean Balfe only 11th. Richard Neary alongside him ahead of Kevin Say and John Ferguson. And then you have Mark Sanson with his Lamborghini, Simon Orange with the repaired McLaren, and a new car for Mark Smith, who was very unlucky to be tapped into the wall yesterday. Totally innocent, but it absolutely destroyed the car. Then in GT4, Josh Miller on pole, Aston Miller alongside him ahead of championship leading Jack Brown, then Zach Meakin on the outside of that row ahead of Tom Holland and Will Moore in one of the two Academy Mustangs. Teammate Matt Cowley next, James Townsend 26th on the grid ahead of Harry George and Ian Duggan. Next up will be Kavi Jundu and Michael Johnston, second in the GT4 Championship. There's Carl Caver's BMW alongside Ian Goff's McLaren. He's an outsider for GT4 honours, ahead of Ed McDermott, who we understand might be starting from the pit lane. Freddie Tomlinson, son of Janetta owner Lawrence, is next. And Ron Johnson, welcome back to British GT. He is going to round out the grid. Ron, many years ago, you might remember in a Speedworks run Corvette, for example. Another returner after about 18 years away, Ben Collins. He'll take over one of the multitudinous Janettas that we have in the race. He will replace Tom Holland on the pit stops. This is James Cottingham's view. He's no stranger to race wins, whether it's in modern GT cars or in historic machinery. Very accomplished driver is James. His brother Jeremy, a very handy historic racer as well. This is the car that he has got to beat, though. Darren Leung. Now, we haven't yet touched on, and we quickly need to, the fact that there is a mandatory pit stop, and if you finished in the top three in the previous race at Brands Hatch, you carry a compensation time, in other words, a slight penalty, into this race. It means that the BMW will stop for a further 20 seconds in the pits, an extra 10 seconds on the regulation time for James Cottingham, and 15 for the pole-sitting Aston Martin of Andrew Howard. So those gaps that we talk about in the first stint have to be borne in mind with the compensation time that they will spend in the pit lane, which is 110 seconds under the regulations for a GT3 car. The Donington Decider is about to get underway. Andrew Howard in the Aston Martin, Darren Leung in the BMW. Go racing down towards turn one. The Intelligent Money British GT Championship final round is go, and it's Andrew Howard on the inside line, Darren Leung on the outside. He's just going to be able to get round on the outside and get his nose in front as they hit Hollywood. The BMW just out-drags the Aston Martin. He's got the outside for Hollywood as Darren is the inside line for the Crater Curve, and he's got the race lead.
Mega. Dan Harper alluded to the strategy at the start, and Darren Leung has executed it perfectly. Cottingham down the inside there of his teammate. You could see him had to get on the brakes for an easy flat kick because Loggy was not going to give him the space. That team order is not going to be a thing. GT4, everyone's got through. You can see the Mustang there. Ramos down the inside of Ian Campbell. Looks like he'll get the move done as they come up to Coppice. But Darren Leung has gone, hasn't he? He's already dropped Andrew Howard in that Aston Martin. This is his chance. Look at that. As they come through into the second sector, I think he's already got a second, 0.2 or maybe. It's amazing. Good start.
Absolutely storming away, and he wants to be more than 10 seconds clear of Cottingham for the pit stops. There's a big dive up the inside from Sam Neary in the green Mercedes. Gets ahead of Mike Price's similar car coming in the S's. Right up behind them as well there, you've got the Barwell Lamborghini. As to the inside line looks Ian Loggy, the outgoing champion, #1 Mercedes. So he's third on the back of Andrew Howard. John Seal being roughed up a little bit, isn't he there, number 25 in the Lamborghini. He's forced out wide as the cars now come up towards the end of lap 1. But yeah, Darren Leung is away and gone. The race start is under investigation. Up towards the line comes James Cottingham. Darren Leung's gap at the end of lap 1, 2.6 seconds. How about that?
Absolutely, Megan. My fear is we actually see the 93 Tempesta car, doing its drive through, getting out of the way early. My fear is Darren Leung wasn't quite over the grid boxes. That would have been mandated. He was a little bit too central for that. So I hope it's just going to be a look and actually decide there wasn't an advantage for it. But we're seeing such a topsy-turvy first lap as that 93 car holding at 50 k's, 18.6 seconds. That's just cost him. He's now got to get back off, pass all the GT4 cars as well. But yeah, I just think we're seeing such a topsy-turvy opening lap because of the qualifying being aggregate, 2 drivers adding to make the grid for this and driver, but also the conditions we had yesterday. It was not easy for these guys, and that's why we saw the wet gamblers in Q1 basically win out. So we're going to have a really lively first few laps as we see Ferguson on the inside of Balfe, backs out of it. Balfe should get a good exit and should be clean. John Seal and Price in front fighting. That's where Sean Balfe will have his eyes fixed. His teammate was fastest in Q2, so when he hands over to Sandy Mitchell, that car I think will rocket up the order. You see the Aston Martin in front of Aston Miller. Much easier if Aston Miller was in an Aston Miller, but that car seems to have found a bit of pace now. The DJ McLaren, the Team Parker run car behind as well, the yellow McLaren going there, still looking for tyre tempers. All the GT3s bundle into the Melbourne hairpin. One of the Mustangs looking around the outside of the Ginetta. How's it all panning out? That 4th place Optimum car, the white and orange, lovely livery on that car, easy for us to spot. Sponsored by the Expel Paint Protection Company. I was actually speaking to them earlier, and they say they're very happy to follow cars closely in front because of the protection system. So what a great sponsor to have. Little lock up from the Ginetta. We saw that yesterday in qualifying a little bit as well, so hopefully that isn't an ongoing problem.
Race start, no further action. So they've looked at it, they're happy with the start, and as the leaders come across the line, Darren Leung is now 3.6 seconds to the good. That BMW going really well in the opening stint as 56 Ginetta there going right around the outside. That is Freddie Tomlinson moving himself past Michael Johnston's BMW, which is bad news for Johnston within the GT4 Championship fight.
Yeah, you can see the speed difference there, the BOP. Ginetta quick in the corners, not on the straight, so the BMW gets its advantage there. Look at the Ginetta scamper away. And the BMW should just start to bring it back a little bit through here as we approach the really tough little left kink before McLean's as we go back to the leader. A really good illustration already how quickly these GT3 cars are going to catch the GT4s. They're already half a lap catching up, so what are we, 4 laps in at the end of this one, so it's probably going to be another 3 or 4 there.
Pace change, Miguel Ramos at the inside of Ian Campbell's McLaren, so the vastly experienced, very successful Portuguese racer, Spanish GT champion, touring car champion, and more recently class champion within the Fanatec GT World Challenge Europe. Miguel Ramos comes through, then goes ahead in the Garage 59 car, ahead of the Race Lab entry. Behind them you've got the Richard Neary driven Mercedes, and Ramos now down towards Redgate. Darren Leung, another fastest lap. As the tyres get warmer, the car gets lighter on fuel, a 1:37.3, and a big dive up the inside of the Mustang there. Look, because 55 Tom Holland is alongside Eric Evans and goes back ahead. He was ahead at the start of the lap, and he's ahead at the end of it as well. Just wiggled his way back through.
Yeah, again, that Ginetta seems to be warming its tyres up nicely. Next target is the sister car to the car it's just overtaken. So as a driver, it's nice when you get the cars together. So I've just overtaken a Ford Mustang. I know where it's weak, and it's probably going to line it up again. But looks like the Aston Martin's struggling to get away, struggling to break the toe of the GT4. McLaren's behind it, 3 astern. I was speaking to the relative leaders in the championship as the graphic comes up nicely there, that none of the McLaren teams are going to help each other. They're all out there for themselves, so we don't have to worry about sort of any inter-team help from the same manufacturers there, so it should be a clean fight. 5 minutes gone, but it feels like we've got a lot left to pan out.
Now all those GT4 cars at the head of the queue at the moment run in the so-called silver category, silver graded drivers, and they serve a longer regulation pit stop than the Pro-Am entries within GT4. So that means that the BMW we were on board with a little while ago, Michael Johnston's car, will come back into the fray after the pit stops. Safety cars, and we've got thus far without one, but if we do get safety cars, that's going to have an effect, of course, on the whole shape of the race, whether it's before the pit window or after the pit stops. Right now, you've got then the car of Josh Miller ahead of Aston Miller. So it is Aston versus McLaren, and Zach Meakin in the Team Parker McLaren in 3rd place, the yellow car.
Yeah, did really well. Go on board here with Evans. Will Moore in front was actually looking to try and get down the inside of Jack Brown in that Optimum McLaren, the championship leader as it stands. Will Moore really quick round here at Donington Park. Used to race for Optimum, so no love lost there. It's always interesting when you sort of know these inter-team rivalries going there, so we'll definitely want to try and get past that Optimum car to sort of settle some scores. But at the moment, this is going so well for Darren Leung. We know they had a steering rack problem in warm-up, and the team at Century did a mega job to get it fixed. That car was literally finished, fixed, ready to go only a couple of minutes before the pit lane opened. James Cottingham still stuck behind Ian Logie at the moment.
Now this is interesting because you've got James Cottingham stuck behind his teammate Ian Logie. He wants to make progress if he can, especially as he's being outscored by Darren Leung at the moment. But Ian Logie had already said at the start of the weekend he was in no mood to help his teammate to win the championship. And the safety car is being deployed, incidentally. The safety car has just been scrambled onto the circuit. So James Cottingham is going to have to either bank points here or fight a way through. But we are going to be seemingly under safety car conditions. And that's not good news for Darren Leung, because the lead that he pulled at 5.7 seconds is about to disappear. Safety car on track.
Yeah, really bad. And actually, Darren's driven mega. I'm not trying to take anything away, but this is the first time the teams have had a chance to run in the dry this weekend at such low ambient temperatures. So I think they're all guessing the tyre pressures a bit, and I just wonder if Century have gone a little bit high, and that's why the car turned on so quickly and managed him to pull away. So he has lost that 5 seconds. It's gone, never to be seen again. No GT4 cars in the middle of them to help him out in that regard. So all he can do now is back them all up, and when the safety car does come back in, he just needs to get the biggest possible jump on Andrew Howard, and obviously none of the cars behind Andrew can overtake until they get the line. So I think he needs to get a really early getaway. When we do go back to green, I would want him to go as early as possible. You cannot overtake the safety car before the safety car comes into the pits. All of this information will be relayed to him over the radio. The team will be keeping him calm. I'm sure he is mega frustrated that he's just lost nearly 6 seconds of a lead.
I suspect that this could turn out to be a good few laps behind the safety car. So Lorna Vickers, the safety car driver in the Lotus, turns now up out of Coppice, and of course the longer the safety car period, the fewer laps Darren Leung will have at the end of his stint to try to build that gap, the more effect it's going to have on the pit stop.
Yeah, exactly. It's all hard for the teams as well now to work out fuel usage. The drivers cannot in GT3 pit before the 60th minute, so they can go long to 70, but normally it loses them too much time. But I do wonder with the amount of safety cars, if some of the teams maybe outside the top 6 will go for a bit of a left field strategy and go long, and they will now be able to because of the extra fuel they're saving under this safety car period.
Now the minimum time that the AM driver must do is 62 minutes, so the AM does make a big contribution, more than half the race, albeit of course some of it now is just going to be followed by leader behind the safety car. What can you do as a driver in a situation like this, assuming it is going to be for 3, 4, 5 laps or so? Is it just a case of drive around, or are there things you ought to be doing in the cockpit?
So you'll be assessing how long the safety car is going to be. If it's a short one and you think it could be in at any lap, you obviously keep everything as warm as you can. Brakes and tyres are obviously your main focus on that. If it's a longer one, you actually start to sort of shift your focus, and you don't really want to take any life out of the tyres. So there's no point weaving hard or accelerating, braking hard, because you're just taking life out of the tyre. So if you know it's going to be a 10-minute safety car, I would, for 4 or 5 minutes, that first half, just chill, just relax, not take anything, and then the 5 minutes following, then get the tyres back up temperature, and just hope that your tyres are a bit fresher with that strategy in mind compared to some of your competitors.
Lots of interested spectators trackside, lots in the pit lane as well. I think Gordon Shedden, Triple British Touring Car Champion, is another interested visitor to Donington. He's in the company of Bryn Lucas.
Yeah, isn't it strange? We've got a single time touring car champion out on track in Tom Ingram. We've got a 3-time touring car champion watching on. Gordon, are we going to get to see you here in the future? Is this why you're here?
Oh, I mean, it's really interesting, obviously. You know, normally it clashes with the touring car round. Obviously this year, you know, I've got a little bit more time on my hands, so I thought I'd come and have a look around. And I mean, it's some spectacle. I can't believe, you know, when you look up and down the pit lane, you look at the quality of what's here now. It's really, really impressive.
Well, you've tried your hand and been very successful at British Touring Car. You've tried your hand at Worlds as well. It would be great to see you out here in a tin top in GTs as well. I mean, come on, you're here at Barwell. It would be great to see you in one of these cars. I don't want to press you too much on it because you're here for a bit of fun, I'm sure. But what is the draw? What's the appeal for you in these GT cars, apart from the fact they look spectacular?
I think, you know, GT racing is just on an absolute trajectory, you know, all over the world. You know, they're real. I mean, they're special cars now. When you look at how fast they are, you look at the aero, and they just look absolutely mega. And on top of that, the racing is, you know, it's fast and it's frenetic. But, you know, for sure, you know, looking ahead, I'd love to go and do Le Mans at some stage now. You know, now the opportunity, you know, time-wise is available, and you know, we need to put some building blocks in place to try and help that happen. So there's lots of opportunity, there's lots of interest, and well, we'll see what transpires.
What is 2024 looking like for you? Because it would be a shame to not see you back out there in some form or other.
Yeah, I think you know, the more racing I can do, the better. You know, I've still got a lot to give. But the most important thing is that it's competitive. You know, I've got to be in something that can give me an opportunity to win races and to win championships. And you know, I'm excited. There's a few irons in the fire, and I'm sure I'll be there to darken some people's doors as the years go on.
Well, I hope so. It'd be great to see you back out there. Cheers, Flash. Thanks very much. Back to you, David.
Brilliant, thanks. Yeah, we had Gordon Shedden in British GT years past, you might remember, at Donington Deciders. And he's raced, I seem to remember, Ferraris, and has tackled occasional races elsewhere. Now, this is the reason for the safety car. Wow. Ian Duggan and also James Townsend are the two that have come together. So there's more than one car involved in that. We can see the amount of damage. That's been a big hit, Joe.
That's massive. Teammates, you see Ian on the right there in the blues. We get the replay. So they were only a tenth apart. James behind. It's absolutely brutal. They've just caught the end of the tyre barrier. Luckily, it looks worse than it is, and I mean that by the bodywork is shed everywhere. It's dissipated the energy really well. Their teammates, they started the year in the same car in the Am, and I was coaching them. I didn't ever tell James to do that. James, I think, will look back at that and just realise he's tried to switch back, not got it quite right, and both of them then were just passengers from it. But luckily they were both stood up, which is obviously positive, and they weren't punching each other. So I think they've both realised it's an honest mistake, and you seem to get this in modern motorsport. Everyone wants to blame someone. Like James will hold his hands up, I think, there and go, I made a mistake. I didn't wake up this morning and try to destroy two Ginetas. There's not many people on this earth that have that motivation, I don't think. And I think that is just a pure racing incident. It's so unfortunate for the Toro Verde team. One, that is both their cars destroyed, but also they were looking really strong. Mike Simpson, teammate of James Townsend, was poling Q2 yesterday and so fast. I think that actually that's going to be their biggest regret, is they're missing out on a potential mega result from today's race.
How is the coaching career going? Busy?
You're still looking for clients. If you have them, let me know.
Well, the good news is, as you say, they're both out of the car, are okay, and it shows the strength of the Ginetta, doesn't it? Because that was a high-speed impact.
It was really scary, wasn't it, as the white car of Ian Duggan bounced off that wall. You weren't quite sure where it was going to go, and the conveyor belt at the start of that tyre wall just grabbed hold of it and spun it around. So I think both of them will be sore whenever it's a front impact. Although all the drivers have to wear a hands device, it's still that initial jolt. It just gets you right at the top of your spine where it meets your head. You'll wake up tomorrow morning a bit dizzy and just hope that a couple of drinks of water will help alleviate that. But see Kevin Say here, just looking at his dash, got the tyre pressures. I can see his rear left 1.4 bar, so about 20% under target at the moment, but you can see he's pretty chilled. He's doing what I would be doing. Like I said, I wouldn't be weaving, I wouldn't be working it too hard at the moment. This has given him a bit of a better chance, hasn't it? We know he had to serve that drive through, he lost him 20 seconds or so, and now he's in the middle of that GT4 pack. So he's got a chance. Once it goes back to green, he can clear those GT4s, and I suspect probably in a lap and a half to be back on the GT3 pack at least.
Yeah, he's 23rd overall, as there is Darren Leung eager to try to get racing again and build that gap. Replay at the start here, Joe.
Yeah, I just thought Darren Leung was a little bit tight. There's 2 sets of grid boxes. Normally it's the outer ones we use, but round the outside, sent it in deep. Track limits on the exit, but it's only one of your warnings, even if you're going to get done. But that allows him to carry the speed. Cottingham here, a little bit cautious, wasn't he? Look at the gap that grew in front of him to Loggy, looking to get past Seal in the 25 Lambo. Gets good exit out of there. Has a slight run on Loggy, if anything. Then just has to breathe off the throttle. I just think if he was a bit more aggressive on the brakes at turn 1, he could have been there as Darren Leung sweeps into lead. Andrew Howard, very fair, 2-time former champion, knows how to win. When you look at that front 4, got a potential champion in front. So GT4, sorry, coming here. Chris Selkow, see how split out they get, just the nature of having a tight last corner. It's hard to get a good run, but it doesn't mean he can break late here. Is he able to get past Kavi Jundu and that Arturo McLaren? Though he comes across him, what's his exit like? He's going to get a go on it. All the way around the outside is a big move on lap 1. Looks like he's just going to concede that and tuck in. Really good, safe start there for Chris Selkow at the start of this race. So Mega and everyone survived that opening lap.
So the safety car continues. There are the cars to retrieve. There is the barrier to repair. There is the gravel to sweep off the circuit. And every time he passes, Darren Leung will be thinking, oh, come on, get on with it. We want to go racing. We want to build up that gap again, because he was on the verge of clearing 10 seconds over James Cottingham, and that's now disappeared.
Yeah, and I think when we do go back to green, it's a bit up in the air at the moment. I'm just looking out the window to see the barrier, and it's going to have to be repinned back. So it could be another 10 minutes at least from here. So nearly half of his stint has evaporated to do that. I think it just means he's got to go all in even more. By that I mean when they catch the GT4s, every move needs to be a lunge. You cannot afford to lose a 10th. And I think it's a bit win or bin for his last 30 minutes of his stint is how I see it going forwards.
Riding with Michael Johnston then, who of course is aiming to be a GT4 champion by the end of the day. They'll have a shorter pit stop as a Pro-Am combination, where Michael Johnston relays Chris Selkow, who is in the pits with Rick Lucas.
Well, Chris, a big incident there in the first turn, and it hasn't played out for those drivers involved, but also for yourselves, because you were hoping for a bit more from the geneticists today.
Yeah, firstly, I really do hope Ian and James are all right. That was a big shunt, probably the biggest of the season, and I really do hope they're all right. For us, we could have used them to get to the front. Obviously, for us to secure the Pro-Am, we needed to not score, and we needed Goff and Carl to not get anywhere near us or get anywhere near the lead. So that's throwing another curveball in, but there's still a long way to go, and we've just got to keep on the black stuff and then hope a bit of lady luck at the pit stop brings us back into play for the overall as well.
But you said to me, I think it was this morning, it seems to be a long time ago, or maybe even yesterday, that you can't really believe you're even in this situation where you're in contention for the overall GT4, let alone, Pro-Am as well.
Yeah, if a year ago you asked me, I would be going into the last round with a chance of the overall and the Pro-Am championships. I would have cut my left arm off to have that opportunity, and to be here now is more than me and MJ could have ever dreamed a year ago when we agreed to come back and do this in the new car. So I've got to say a huge thank you to everybody at Century, all the guys, the girls who put so much hours, so many nights away from loved ones to get us to this position. So without them we would have been here. And yeah, we've had a bit of luck. Brands, obviously the safety car really came into our favour with the 20 seconds compensation from the one at Portimao, but I'll just be happy if we get the Pro-Am. The overall is more than we ever could have dreamed, and it would be amazing if we could do it. If the racing gods are with us, that'd be amazing, but we'll wait and see. It's a long way to go still.
Well, Century are a team that know a lot of success, and they've got both GT3 and GT4 teams and drivers in contention for championships. What's the secret ingredient that Century Motorsport are bringing?
I don't know. I've said it so many times on my social media. This isn't a team. This is a family. There's everybody here gets on so well. The camaraderie is amazing. It's not just going racing. Me, Carl, Lewis, MJ, Darren and Dan. We all get on. We all have a laugh together. Go for a beer on the evenings together. It's a true team spirit. And I don't know. I've experienced other teams in the past, and yeah, it's great. But there's something special about this team. And I've said it to everybody who's come to me with advice, asking for advice on where should they go in the motorsport industry. And I've always said, first port of call, go to Century.
Very best of luck to you there, Chris. I can see Dan looking over as well, looking a bit nervous too. But back to you for now, David.
Brilliant, thanks. Yeah, at the moment in the GT4 Championship fight, it is advantage to Jack Brown and Charles Clark. They are 4th overall in GT4, whereas 12th, the BMW of Chris Selkow and Michael Johnston. So that means they're effectively out of the points, and it is the McLaren team that would win the championship. But you've got the pit stops, you've got the second driver's pace to factor in as well. So it's a bit academic at the moment. The race leader remains Darren Leung. The track sweeping device has just gone down towards Redgate Corner, so we are still going to have at least one more lap, if not more, behind the safety car like this. And at the moment, Darren Leung as the race leader. Again, were things to stay as they are, and it's a big, big if, he'd have 186.5, and for James Cottingham, who is running in fourth, it will be 180. So at the moment, Darren Leung on target to win GT3, but by no means think that things are going to stay as they are now for the remaining, hour and 39 minutes.
Yeah, I just think that with that pit stop penalty, obviously winning Brands Hatch, they had to do, but the compensation time that you inherit off that, as you see that BMW really working, look at it, pitch and dive under braking, really quite soft on that front end, but I think that's why it's been so quick this year for Darren. As an AM driver, the softer the car is, the more feeling it gives you as a driver, and then that gives you confidence to be able to place the car where you want and need it to. So mega illustration of it. They're obviously thinking safety car can't be that far away from coming in, all starting to weave that little bit more, but yeah, I think we're going to look back at the end of this race and think this safety car probably just took it away from Darren Leung. Half of that sort of difference to this car that we're looking at in the pit stop has been eroded by the safety car. Costing really starting to work it now. You can see him have a little slide out the Melbourne hairpin there. As we can see, your math was correct, David. 6.5 points in between it. Even if Cottingham finished third, that still isn't enough if Darren Leung and Dan Harper win. So it is really that tight. And it's going to be interesting to see when the pros get in. Big old slide there. I think Cottingham maybe on the edge of warming it too much. And I think the team would just be getting on the radio to him to just give him a little calm down.
That's what Kevin Say was trying to do in the qualifying session yesterday, and it bit him. So, yeah, I mean, the longer we are behind the safety car like this, track sweeping device is just left, by the way, going the wrong way up the pit lane, but the longer they are behind the safety car like this, the less temperature, the less pressure in the tyres, of course. Each lap is kind of a handicap.
Yeah, and I think maybe Century did go a little bit higher on their pressures than everyone else. Just how quick Darren Leung was off the line and for that first lap. So maybe that will help him again, and maybe he can get to 6 seconds after the next 3 or 4 laps. See Cottingham here, the white smoke coming out the back of it, it's just locking up. The team need to tell him he needs to either turn the ABS up or he needs to stop doing it. He will be flat spotting these tyres ever so slightly, get a vibration. He's taking life out of the tyres as well. That's just too much. He's too hard on the brake, and the brakes are still a bit cold, tyres are a bit cold, and there's just no aero grip when you're going that slowly. The team need to be on the radio to him, just saying, you need to get rid of that. It's not helping you at all.
So the race director, Peter Daly, keeping an eye on what's going on down at Redgate. Again, look, James Cottingham with more tyre smoke. Let's see what happens as he heads up towards Coppers and whether he keeps on grabbing the brake like that. But what Joe is saying is relevant, because, of course, the tyres can be changed on the pit stops. But as the track working crew now have to put the barrier back in place, that means that the cars have all gone, the gravel is back where it should be. We just need the tyres adjusted, the tyre barriers repairing, then we'll be good to go. But all of this eating into the first stint, and meaning that the AMs, of course, are all still bunched up together, and it means that when we get to the pit stops, the pros are the ones that are really going to win the race.
Yeah, Philip Ellis looking pensive there. Such a hard job for him to come in this weekend. Johnny Adam has really got James Cottingham, in my opinion, in the championship lead. We've seen how much Johnny loves winning British GT titles, and he's transformed James Cottingham, I think, this year. Yes, he's been quick as soon as he's come into modern GT racing, but he was not leading and winning races, and Johnny has done that. And I have to say, on a personal level, I'm distraught for Johnny Adam not to be able to be here. Just contractual issues, basically. He is a Aston Martin factory driver. He does a great job for Aston Martin, and there is always a clash between this race and the Portimao race for European Le Mans Series, and Aston Martin have made the decision that they want him there, even though there are some murmurings from the team out there that they're happy for him to go and do this Mercedes-backed championship.
Can I offer you another idle thought while we have the safety car about Johnny Adam, which is that he's an Aston Martin factory driver, as you say. He has been leading the championship in a Mercedes against factory drivers Jules Gounon and Raffaele Marciello, who drive Mercedes every week somewhere. Johnny only drives them now and again in British GT, and yet he's had more wins than those two factory drivers. He's done a very good job at different rounds of the championship, keeping, for example, Jules Gounon behind him, and they're in the same team, 2 Cs on that occasion. does that kind of suggest that the BOP is such that it's hard to overtake in British GT, or that Johnny Adam is actually even better than we give him credit, and he's not just a one-trick pony in an Aston Martin, because you drop him into another type of GT car and he can beat factory drivers that are more experienced in that GT3 machine.
Yeah, totally. I think it's a lack of respect towards Johnny Adam. I think, unfortunately, he was born with a name that doesn't sound very fast compared to a Marciello or a Gounon. So I think he's proved his worth in a different brand. He's shown he's not that one-trick pony in an Aston Martin. And I think it really, for him, is a positive that it really opens up avenues really for him to take his racing. And if he does lose this championship today, there is a chance he can still win it. If the Darren Leung car scores less than 13 points, 2Cs could retire their car to stop Cottingham scoring any points, and they would be joint champions. That is my dream. I hope I wake up tomorrow morning on Monday and Johnny Adam is a British GT champion alongside James Cottingham, because I feel like that's the fairest result out there for the performance he's done and everything you've said about Johnny Adam. That would be my dream.
It wouldn't be the first time it's happened, though, in that respect, because a few years back he picked up a penalty at Snetterton.
Sorry, I thought the first time me waking up thinking about Johnny.
What you do in your morning is up to you. But there was a situation where Johnny picked up a penalty and it affected his championship score, but not Andrew Howard. So even though they'd shared the whole season together, Andrew won it on his own that year. In GT4 at the moment, reflecting what we'd said a few laps ago, it is the McLaren of Charles Clark and Jack Brown ahead at the moment by 22.5 points from Matt Cowley and Eric Evans. And in the race, the Mustang crew 2 places behind the McLaren. Well, Academy could do a switch. They could help that car get 1 place up the order. So there's a lot to pan out of GT4, the other side of the pit stops. Charles Clark looking on and waiting his turn. A few nervous faces right now.
I think all racing drivers don't have the skill set, do they, to pretend they're...
Lap. All cars, please, speed up, close the gap, safety car in this lap.
That's the voice of the race director, Peter Daly, you just heard, saying safety car in this lap, and he wants the pace quick and ready for the restart.
Yeah, I think Charles Clark was doing a bad job of hiding his nerves there. Tried to give us a thumbs up, but even that he didn't really do with much conviction, did he? So those guys have really lost the championship lead to such a bad form in the last 2 races with bad luck, predominantly being the reason for losing that. But they're just hoping they can get away from it, that they don't have any more bad luck. They've swapped cars. They're no longer in the original Artura. They were in Optimum owned 2 cars. They've swapped the other chassis. Like I said in qualifying yesterday, that chassis was actually a car I was racing at the start of the year, so I know it's a good car, and I just hope it gets them across the line. So Darren Leung now in the process of backing them all up. Like I said, I think with his extra pace over Andrew Howard, he wants to go early. I think if he can slow it down enough and the safety car is out of his sight as he comes out, he's done a mega job of that already. I think he should be going any time now, even in the brake zone. We normally see drivers go on the exit of corners because the car behind cannot get on the throttle, but I would go now. I'd fake it and I would go. I think you've got a big enough gap to the safety car, and go, get off that damp bit down. Come on, let's go. And just stretch that lead, and it just means Loggy can't overtake Howard until the finish line. Still weaving, doesn't look like he's going to go. He's going late. You can see Loggy not weaving. He's just fixated on when they're going to go. It's a really late go. We've only got another 200 metres or so before we get to the finish line.
So the green flag awaits, and Darren Leung comes into Goddard's then, ready to accelerate clear to get the race back underway. But it's been a late launch, if you like, but now he's racing. You can't overtake until you get to the control line, the timing line. That's where the green flag is waved, and the cars come through now, down towards Redgate then. So Darren Leung back on his toes, trying to build that lead. James Cottingham a little bit deep into Redgate then. He runs 4th and needs to be moving forward now to keep this championship lead, as we're on lap number 14 in this Donington Decider, the last round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. The green flag flies, we're back racing.
I slated down a little bit too hard there, didn't I? Still had 8/10 of a second over Howard as it crosses the line. So, sorry, mega job. I think we need to keep an eye on the car behind Cottingham that we're on board with. Morgan Tilbert coming back to championship, being super fast here, won many a race at Donington, and look at him there, and he's got nothing to lose. I think that could be a really interesting fight. Loggy on the defence from Cottingham. They're still getting held up a little bit by Howard, but that Aston Martin got great traction and good top speed. I think it's going to be quite hard for a move to happen anywhere but in this final sector where they're coming.
Ian Loggy on the lights to say to Andrew Howard, get out of the way. Well, good luck with that, because Andrew is quite entitled to hang on to that second place, and he's actually doing Darren Leung a favour, isn't he? Because he's the cork in the bottle at the moment. He's stacking up the Mercedes teammates, Ian Loggy and James Cottingham, and Cottingham is coming under attack from the McLaren behind him. Loggy to the inside of Howard, can't find a way through. Tilbrook on the inside of Cottingham, and he's done it. He's gone through for 4th place, and that was a bit robust.
Yeah, I thought I saw it coming. I spoke to Tilbrook earlier, and he had nothing to lose. Got down the inside, and you just place your car on the inside, and you ask the car on the outside, how much do you want to turn in on me? Oh, you got a championship to lose. I don't. I'm going to just give you a little nudge. I actually think Loggy might have just touched Howard as well in front of them, so it's getting feisty there. As Neary goes down the inside of Ramos, is it clean? Ramos gives him space. Neary runs him out. Job done. If you're James Cottingham, this is your view. You're looking in your mirror, seeing Richard Neary, one of the most aggressive GT drivers we've ever seen. I would want to get on the front foot. So let's watch Tilbrook go down the inside. A little bit of contact. Yeah, big contact, to be fair. Cottingham was coming back in for the apex. I don't actually think he'd even seen Tilbrook, because the car just bounced off him. Neither of them will have much damage, I don't think. But that's definitely going to have shaken Cottingham up.
But he has responded in as much as he's pulling away again from Richard Neary. So James Cottingham can't afford to be losing places. He knows that there's a slightly shorter pit stop in the offing. Andrew Howard, in the meantime, still holding up Ian Loggy, allowing Darren Leung to get away as they come down towards the S's. It's not really an overtaking opportunity unless you're terribly, terribly brave, and Ian Loggy doesn't want to squander a place early in the race. So he has to sit behind Andrew Howard, who again goes defensive very, very early down to the Melbourne hairpin. Into the braking zone they come now. Loggy to the outside line. Neary up the inside of Cottingham. Loggy goes wide, so Tilbrook's going to go through on the inside and clear Loggy. Neary's got ahead of Cottingham, who's dropping down the order.
Didn't see that coming. With Howard on the defence, I thought Loggy was going to be able to sort of get a good exit, but he went too deep, just locked again. Like the sister car, we're seeing that Mercedes just locking its brakes. Maybe he's got Jules Gounon, not particularly happy with that. Tilbrook's the man on the move. Neary with a great, great lunge. This is going the wrong way very quickly for Cottingham. All in the meantime, we're not seeing is Darren Leung pulling up 4.3 second lead. He's nearly back to where we were with that gap pre-safety car. Cottingham back on board. How does he look in the arms? He looks pretty relaxed, looks pretty chilled. But look at where he wanted to be in front of Andrew Howard. We now have 3 cars in between him and that car.
So Darren Leung on the pit stops will have an extra 20 seconds to serve. Andrew Howard in second place, an extra 15. So it's good news for Morgan Tilbrook, who in theory should inherit the race lead once we've gone through the GT3 pit stops. There's no extra time to be served for Ian Loggy. And James Cottingham currently in 6th place with an extra 10 seconds to serve. He's staying with that battle pack ahead. So is this part of the plan? Don't fight them, let people through, keep out of trouble. But what he is doing, I suppose, is increasing the workload for Phil Ellis.
Yeah, and he's just been bullied, hasn't he? That's all of the moves have just been really robust, fair, but robust. And I think maybe he needs next year, if he's in the championship and wants to win again, maybe he needs to work the grid a bit harder and find some more friends that aren't going to bully him out of it, because he's really lost so much time with that. We know Loggy isn't going to help him out, but I will think when Loggy hands over to Gounon getting paid by Mercedes will then help out Ellis, who will take over from Cottingham. So that's a potential underlying note that we need to keep an eye on. GT4's flying through, Mustang's running line astern there.
They need to do a switch, don't they? Get 61, one further place up the order before much longer. So Eric Evans then chasing after the sister car of Will Moore as they come now down into the Melbourne hairpin. Darren Leung, in the meantime, he's already 5 seconds up the road again. So for the outright race leader, he's building that gap, and Andrew Howard is really doing him a favour. And these Mustangs are having to work against each other, as in Eric Evans is having to fight for this place. He's not being given a free ride.
I thought Will was going to let him go there and give him the space, but you see good traction for Will Moore, the sister car there. I think what the Academy need to say here is to Will, right, mate, we need you to open the door on Brown and the Optimum car in front. If you can't do that, then please can we swap positions? Lovely bit of oversteer there for Evans out of Redgate. Let's watch these cars drive down the hill all the way through. The Optimum car is just losing the back of the sort of top 3 here, isn't it? It's going to be interesting. Now we're getting into the longest period of green flag running. What do these cars do? Are they going to start to work their tyres a little bit harder, some more than others? Normally that Mustang, although it is a big car, looks after its tyre really, really well. I think that car might start to get even stronger in the next few laps.
So the fastest lap of the race, Darren Leung, and he's just done an absolute best in the middle sector on this lap. Number 90 McLaren, 4th in GT4. Jack Brown making his way through Coppice now. He's managed to shake off the Mustangs. That Ginetta incident, by the way, that caused the safety car, that's going to be looked at after the race. Now, what about Morgan Tilbrook for second place? He's right there on the back of Andrew Howard as they dive into Redgate. In fourth place, Ian Loggy. Fifth, Richard Neary, the man from Formby. And then in sixth spot, James Cottingham in the yellow Mercedes, the championship leader. He's got Miguel Ramos up behind him. Another good McLaren battle behind. Mark Campbell ahead of, Ian Campbell ahead of Mark Radcliffe, and then 10th John Ferguson, a bit distant at the moment in the Ram Racing Mercedes that won at Snetterton. Neary, a little bit wide, Cottingham fights back.
It's going to give Ramos the run potentially on both of them. Not quite sure what Neary's issue there was. Car didn't seem to have a big moment, but really lost a lot of time, 5/6 tenths just in one corner. Cottingham tried to get on the offensive, but Neary filled that road up. But he's really struggling with drive out of the corners. I think he's going to get down the inside, he backs back out of it. We saw a problem for that car in qualifying too, for Sam Neary, Richard's son, but it doesn't seem to be particularly happy. Look at the gap that's grown, and it's given that Ian Campbell and Mark Radcliffe a chance to get on the back of this, but this is really hurting Cottingham now through zero fault of his own.
It is, because he's 7.6 seconds back at the start of this lap, and it's going to be an even bigger gap potentially come the end of this lap. We've been saying it's hurting James Cottingham. We've got the McLaren side by side there, but as they come out of the corner, Ian Campbell is ahead. Thoughts from Bryn maybe about how the Mercedes factory drivers are going to treat this championship situation as we see 27 dive up the inside and go through. Just quickly to say Mark Radcliffe is ahead but goes wide. Ian Campbell back on the inside. Radcliffe stays ahead. Right, back to Mercedes matters. Brent, what are the factory drivers going to do to help their co-drivers?
Yeah, it's trying to take a breath, isn't it, David? I'll tell you something. Well, Ian Loggy yesterday, as we know, told me that he wouldn't help out James Cottingham at all, and why should he? I've just spoken to Jules Gounon and said, what would you do? He laughed when I told him what Ian said. He said, well, look, Ian pays me, so ultimately I have to do what Ian tells me, but if I can help AMG out, I will. So I'm not sure how you pick through the bones of that one.
Just do as you're told at a given lap, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah, who shouts the loudest, Mercedes or Ian Loggy? Well, there is Jules, his partner Michelle Gatting, of course, a very accomplished racer herself for the Iron Dames GT squad. And Jules Gounon, whose father Jean-Marc was a single-seater star-turned sports car racer, and Jules will be in the car for the second stint. Right, this, though, is the car that Philip Ellis, the Anglo-Swiss-German driver, will take over from James Cottingham, and right now it is sixth and significantly 9 seconds behind the race leader, and a 10-second extra delay in the pits for this car will come, but a 20-second delay for Darren Leung. So in other words, the BMW was very nearly built the 10-second cushion that it needs.
Yeah, and it didn't even look like Neary was holding Cottingham up there as we went on board there. So that car really doesn't have much pace, but the sister car, Ian Loggy, also doesn't seem to have that much. Maybe the Mercedes aren't quite firing on all cylinders just yet, and hopefully as the race goes on, that will go back into their flow.
Team manager, car 78 to race control, please. Car 78, team manager, race control.
Sean Balfe and the 78 car, Mark Lemmer, will be scurrying up there as fast as his legs can take him to work that out. We haven't seen anything what might allude to the issue there, but yeah, talking about the change of pace, I think Andrew Howard has found a fair bit of time now. He seems to be pulling away a little bit from Tilbrook and Loggy. The gaps are starting to stagnate, apart from that one of Andrew Howard is starting to up the pace, so only a couple of tenths slower than Darren Leung in that last lap around. So what have we got, 24 minutes until they can pit. Still got a lot of laps to do with these AMs under a lot of pressure.
And the fastest lap of the race, Kevin Say, now in that Sky Tempesta McLaren. So he is down in 16th place, but Kevin Say absolutely flying. He's cleared some of the GT4 traffic, and a 1:27.1 is now the fastest lap of the race. Ian Loggy dancing over the curve. James Cottingham going after Richard Neary. Now Neary's last lap was a personal best, and very nearly 4 tenths quicker than those ahead of him as Loggy dives up the inside of the McLaren down towards the Melbourne hairpin. They almost rub. Look, Neary is right back with them. So the green Mercedes, the earlier gen of the Mercedes AMG, that's kind of woken up again, and not only has it caught Loggy, but it's taking Cottingham with him, and James in turn has shaken off for the moment, at least by a couple of lengths, Miguel Ramos.
Yeah, it's a mega idea from Ian Loggy there. Threw it to the inside, got it stopped really well, was able to get onto the apex. Morgan saw him and gave him that space, so they didn't have any contact, but now Ian has got it in his sights, so he can bank that reference of where he broke that lap, and knows he can probably take a metre or two later and hopefully get a bit more sort of speed on the inside of Tilbrook and get that move done. Tilbrook, however, will know the move's coming and potentially will cover it off, or even try and brake a bit later, going deep and V that hairpin off. There's a 1,000,001 ways to do the Melbourne hairpin line-wise, and none of them have ever been right. But I think we're going to see an overtake there again soon. My other fear, and I've had it in the back of my mind for a few laps now, is that Cottingham does need to keep his eyes up as we see the first GT4 car of Ron Johnson getting overtaken there. Always just, as you see the speed differential, just catches your eye, doesn't it? I was going to say this, we need to be looking at Neary, yes, but we need to be looking at Loggy. We need to be looking at Tilbrook, because if there's any contact at the hairpin, there's such little speed, the car normally stays on the track, and you can find yourself in a crash that wasn't your fault because there was a car blocking the way. This is where I'm worried that we're going to get a bit of a concertina at some point. We've got so many cars in such a small amount of space there, all wanting to be in front of one another.
Now, what's going on with this Aston Martin? Because it never really had the get up and go in the first part of the race, and even on the restart, it's never been able to live with the BMW. Andrew Howard, in fairness, former Mini Melia front runner, has done a great job of knowing how to defend. Many lessons learned, but the double British GT champion comes across the line. Yes, he's doing a good job in defending that second place. Yes, that's changing the shape of the race by having everybody stacked up behind, but the Aston just does not have the pace of the BMW ahead, and seemingly, you know, if Andrew were to finally be overtaken by the McLaren or the Mercedes behind, he'd fall away in the queue. The Aston just does not seem to have the pace, does it?
He's done one good lap. His fastest lap is actually quicker than everyone behind him, but I definitely agree the consistency of that car is not there. And that is one of the sort of common issues with that Aston Martin, is that it is quite lively on the rear, which naturally makes it quite hard to be consistent. I actually drove the Evo version of that Aston Martin a couple of weeks ago at Silverstone, and the thing is on absolute rails. So Andrew Howard will be a lot happier this time next year, as he does struggle on the exit. So Tilbrook won't be able to do anything around the outside, but he's going to try and compromise Howard's entry into the chicane, then to do like a soft cutback on the exit to get the run into that Melbourne hairpin. That is being our best overtaking spot of the lap. Gets it over, just about covers it. What does Tilbrook do? Does Loggy think he can make it? Another interesting one. Neary around the outside. Loggy and Neary are not particularly friendly, so I don't expect those cars to finish the same colours as they are right now if they stay in the same postcode as they are currently.
But we know that Richard Neary is the great opportunist. If there's half a gap, Richard will go for it. And so he's right there on the tail of Loggy as they come over the line. He can give Richard a sniff of a move and he'll take it. So the leaders then come over the timing line. Darren Leung still 8.5 seconds to the good. In second spot, it's Howard. In third, Tilbrook. Fourth, Loggy. Fifth, Neary. Sixth, Cottingham. The battle pack remains the same as they go now onto the top of the Craner curves. Ramos is 7th. Mark Radcliffe is 8th. Ian Campbell is 9th. And 10th is John Ferguson. GT4 still going the way of Josh Miller from Aston Miller, and then Zach Meakin in 3rd and Jack Brown 4th, and therefore the car of Jack Brown, Charles Clark, heading at the moment for GT4 honours, as Andrew Howard still doing a great job of hanging on to 2nd place. It's a brilliant defence because he's not doing anything dirty, is he?
He's just placing the car exactly where it shows that you can't overtake. Darren Leung pretty lucky there, I think, with a couple of GT4 cars on that straight. Hasn't seemed to have lost much time, but those 4 or 5 GT4 cars are going to create a big problem here. Bit of damage there for Morgan Tilbrook, front left, those dive plates flapping. I wonder if that was that bit of contact he had with Cottingham. It was on early, he's got the run. This should be job done. Can he get it stopped? His job now is to brake at exactly the same point as Andrew Howard. Andrew Howard goes late on the brakes. Loggy's trying to fill that space. Is it going to be 3 wide on the exit? Andrew Howard on the throttle hard. Is he going to go and get the inside into the last corner? It looks like it's going to go on for another corner. Then he needs to put Morgan Tilbrook out wide. Loggy down the inside. This is absolutely amazing, and so far, clean racing.
Absolutely. So Andrew Howard just hangs on a second. Morgan Tilbrook in the Kazoo McLaren behind him. To the outside line goes Ian Loggy, and Andrew Howard's life is about to get even more difficult because there are back markers up the road. Out of Redgate. The race leader has cleared the traffic and is away up the road. So it's Andrew Howard 2nd, Tilbrook 3rd, Loggy 4th. 5th is Neary, 6th is Cottingham, and through the traffic they come. BMW of Carl Cavers up the road. Howard goes for the inside, gets up the curve, he's delayed, and here comes Tilbrook. He's got the momentum, he's got the run, he's almost alongside. They hide behind the graphic. Side by side behind, Loggy gets stuck behind the BMW. He goes one side. Through he goes, he's ahead of the McLaren. Morgan Tilbrook drops back a place. Wide is Andrew Howard at McLean's. Ian Loggy, great bit of driving. He read that perfectly. He got the move done. It was Morgan Tilbrook who was hung out to dry. Andrew Howard is still 2nd somehow, but now he's got Loggy crawling over the back of him. Side by side they run, they almost touch. I think they did touch as they come down towards the S's. Howard on the inside, brakes late. He's got the BMW ahead of him. He just goes through and stays ahead of Loggy. Then Andrew Hart goes wide. Loggy to the inside, Tilbrook to the inside of the pair of them. Take a big, deep breath. It's 3 wide into the Melbourne hairpin. Loggy up the inside is hit by Tilbrook, but he hangs on to the slide. Howard on the outside. Loggy goes through. You've also got Ramos making ground in the background. He is ahead of Cottingham now.
You're good with the names. I can't even watch this, what's going on. Cottingham has lost that place to Ramos. Tilbrook trying to get down the inside of that GT4 BMW is hard work. That was one of the best laps I've seen from Loggy in a long time of any racing. Great driving. He chose the right lane to get past Tilbrook round there. Like when you go to the airport, you think you've got the right security queue, and then in front of you there's a baby in a pushchair and it all goes wrong. There's loads of liquids and suddenly you're the loser. That was Morgan Tilbrook. Here Loggy swept round, only hand luggage and got through into the lead. But Mark Radcliffe here now, a bit of touch with Selkin in that GT4 BMW that we go on board with. He's on the back of Cottingham. Cottingham cannot catch a break right now, can he?
No, he can't. And look, he's dropped back into 7th place, James Cottingham, because we saw Ramos go ahead of him. James Cottingham then hustles on. The only good news in a way for the Amps now is that their stint might be coming to an end. They can relay the pro. James Cottingham goes through. Mark Radcliffe behind him, former Porsche racer. He's not that far behind James Cottingham either. And of course now, not only have they got their own little battles to worry about, but they've got all this traffic to contend with. Ian Goff in the McLaren then, lapped by Ian Loggy up into 2nd place. What's going to be interesting now is to see the pace of Loggy relative to Darren Leung. Well, I'll tell you what the pace is. It's an absolute best in the first sector for Ian Loggy on this lap. So now that he's been released, that's the pace of the Mercedes.
Amazing. Only 13 seconds behind. Sounds like a lot, but with the 20 seconds extra for Darren Leung, he will inherit the lead and pass it over to Jules Gounon, who should have 7 seconds or so. We didn't see much of it, but
Car 78, stop-go penalty, causing a collision with car 3. Car 78, stop-go penalty.
So that's the Sean Bell Lamborghini. We heard the team manager, Mark Lemmer, being summoned to race control. The leader of GT4 has just been lapped by the leader of GT3. There is Darren Leung, who is driving a great stint. Take nothing away from him. He might not have had to do all the battling that people behind have, but he is doing what is needed. Get out, build that lead, and he's building it again.
We didn't see the battling for him, but like I said, I think he's just been super aggressive and positive with the overtakes from the GT4s and not lost as much time. He's doubled his lead in the last 2 laps. That really heavily GT4 affected traffic lap, he has really stretched it. And at the moment, if we look at the Cottingham car, he's 16 seconds behind Darren Leung. So he's going to leave the pit 6 seconds behind with Ellis versus Harper in that battle there. Depending on where they are, there can't be more than 2 positions between them for them not to lose the championship lead to that BMW.
Yeah, the second stint is going to be an absolute zinger, isn't it? Because you're going to get all these factory drivers going toe-to-toe. Miguel Ramos chipping his way up the order in the Garage 59 McLaren. Just there it is, just to make the point that that car has a completely different driver combination from that it did at the start of the year. And because of that, it gets an extra 5 seconds, effectively a penalty in the pits for a full season entrant changing drivers. Miguel Ramos knows that car very, very well. He races it most weeks, either in Britain or in Europe, but his co-driver, Johnny Edgar, new to GT racing. He's been a winner in Formula 3. Now there, Cottingham has got himself ahead of Neary once more, 0.2 of a second that margin. So it's Richard Neary, I think, who's dropped back a little bit over the last couple of laps over the timing line. Cottingham is back up into 6th. Richard Neary is in 7th place, and this is how it happened, Joe.
So congested, Neary's had to go wide on the outside, and then Ramos sneaks through, and Cottingham as well. So didn't see the entry to the corner, but I assume Neary's just outbroken himself a little bit late. Maybe worried to get an overtaken on the inside, went late, but ultimately cost him more. See how well that Mustang handles through the old hairpin. Andrew Howard wasn't really pulling much speed on him. Tilbrook round the outside. I hope the Enduro guys that run that Tilbrook McLaren can get some tape on those dive plates, because they're starting to flap around. At the moment, that won't be too much performance loss. If you were to lose both of those dive plates, I would say around Donington, that's probably nearly a second a lap lost in performance. If they can get some tank tape on that leading edge, I think they might just about survive. But it looks like it's debonding, doesn't it, off the front bumper. It isn't, for me, a dangerous enough situation where the race director needs to get involved, but it's definitely going to be a worry for performance in the second half of the race. I said I thought it might be the Loggy contact, but just quickly getting a good look at it there, might have just grazed the tyres through the chicane. Drivers all trying to get as tight as they can, but I think Morgan maybe have got too tight in that instance.
So Darren Leung still leads in this Donington Decider. There he is. Look at the gap. Nobody in sight. At length of the pit straight as the BMW M4 goes onto the top of the crane and curves and wait and wait and wait, and eventually Ian Loggy will come through 16 seconds back, and that is Mike Price's Mercedes. You can see what's happened to it. Don't need me to tell you that he has a very limited view and he's going to have to head for the pit lane. It's more than just the bonnet opening. That's done quite a lot of damage, and I think that's the reason for the damage, because 42 of Ian Campbell is in the gravel at the old hairpin. Might this be another interruption, do you think, which would be really, really bad news for the leader?
Yeah, I think it's got to be a safety car. Price must have rear-ended, actually in the side, wasn't it? Really late on the brakes. Does well himself, but Ian Campbell, I think, must have suspension damage the way he just carried on straight. I don't think the Greystone guys are going to be able to get this car fixed. Even if you got the bonnet down, I think there's too much damage, and that's a shame. We saw that car going so well. Greystone guys already with the tank tape plasters, but there's a headlight disappeared somewhere. They're looking at it. They obviously need to make sure it's safe. I think that's the wheel arch liner even coming out there. But that's a shame, because that car was so competitive at Brands Hatch.
I love the way that when you're trying to get the car back into the race, suddenly you realise how little of this you actually need. You know, Mercedes put these things on the car for a reason. Don't need that, throw that away, tape on that, get it back out, it'll do.
And you saw how light all the parts are. They're all carbon fibres. They're all probably a couple of grand. Ron Johnson on the grass. Where's that? Maybe on the exit of Coppice on the back straight. Definitely stuck. And we see John Seal now in the wall on the old hairpin. I think this has got to be a safety car now.
There's too many cars on there.
Exactly. Yeah. One was okay. 2 or 3 now. So what have we got? John Seal by himself, middle of crane. His car just goes straight. I don't know if that's a car failure, but that is so scary. When you think how long he's been crashing for, and then how hard he still hits the barriers. Yeah. That was a 300-metre crash that he carried on for, and still hit the barriers doing 50, 60 kilometres an hour at least. I don't know what the failure could have been, but that didn't look particularly enjoyable for a 74-year-old gentleman.
Safety car deployed, as expected.
Gutted.
So, yeah, Darren Leung, who's done everything right. Well, it didn't help the first time, but they were able to counter that. It's certainly not helped second time around. And again, you get the feeling that with quite a few cars in different places now, this could be a long one, and that doesn't help life either.
I think it's going to be one that takes us into the pit window. The GT4s can pit in the next 6 minutes. The GT3s have still got another 10, but I think it could be long enough as we see it day done. Like I said, super shame. I think Callum McLeod, when he would have got in that car, would have been rapid. So I think that was a potential cropper on the outside. John Seal out of his Lamborghini. Looks all okay, but still a big old hit that.
Yeah. Now, normally in a British GT 1-hour race, for example, there is a defined pit window. You must pit between that time and that. There's not really a window as such here. It's just that there is a minimum time that the first driver must do. So it's not like you can move the window back, because there isn't a window as such. There's only this minimum time. That is Darren Leung then, who is the race leader, and the gap that he had is about to disappear under the safety car, and that's going to bring Ian Loggy back into the hunt. Don't forget, this car, having won at Brands Hatch, has got to make a longer pit stop with a further 20 seconds. Just to remind you, we said it earlier on, but it's a 62-minute minimum stint for the driver in the GT3 cars. It's 58 minutes minimum for those in GT4, and you can do a maximum drive time of 70 minutes. Regulation pit stop time is 110 seconds in GT3, it's 140 in GT4. In which class the silver graded cars also have to have that longer pit stop. There you can see the so-called compensation pit stop times based on the results of Brands Hatch. Key to all of it being, it's an extra 20 seconds for the leading car, and all the efforts of Darren Leung to build the gap have come to nothing thanks to the efforts of others.
Yeah, generally gutted for him because he's had 2 mega stints split with the safety car in the middle of them. A lot of damage on that Ian Campbell car, isn't it? The whole door's gone. Suspension actually looks all right, so maybe they're going to try and drive that back. I'm not sure how many recovery vehicles Jonathan Palmer has here at Donington, because we've got 3 completely separate incidents at 3 ends of the track. They couldn't be further apart. You can see that Ron Johnson one, potentially with a bit of a shove from the marshals, could go, but there's not normally many marshals on that side because it's a bit of a quiet part of the track, in all honesty. But yeah, Darren Leung, I just don't know what he can do now, really. It's going to go down to the pits, and Sentry's best hope, in my opinion, is that basically it's carnage in the pit lane. It's so busy, people get blocked in. They are at pit exit, 2C's at pit entry, so they've both got the best chances, but it could still kick off.
The other thing, of course, that's going to be different for when we get the race back underway is that car, the Aston Martin, is no longer in second place. So Darren Leung is trying to build a gap over a different order. It was arguably easier first time around because Andrew Howard didn't have the pace and he was being the cork in the bottle. People couldn't get past him. We now see how quick Ian Logie has been, and he's going to be the one doing the chasing when we go green again.
Yeah, Logie, like you said just before the safety car out, just on a purple sector 1, so we know that car has got serious pace. We know Loggie's got nothing to lose. I think it's going to be, as you said, a completely different one, as those marshals done a mega job pushing Ron Johnson off the grass. The GT4 cars, the leaders, are all on the same lap as well. That's sometimes a problem we have in this one safety car multi-class racing, but there is the Aston Martin leading GT4 in front of its bigger GT3 sister. So all the GT4s are still on the same lap, but now split by some GT3 cars. So they can pit in the next 3 minutes exactly. The last safety car lap was 2 minutes 28. So I don't see them being able to pit this lap, but they should be able to pit the following lap after lap. You see the John Seal car still in the barriers there. John Seal actually used to sell Lamborghinis, but tractors, and there's now racing one, but he probably needs a Lamborghini tractor more than a GT3 car.
I was going to say he's got the best of both worlds now. There's a tractor to hook him out.
I'm trying to learn my track. My son's obsessed. I think that's a French Manitou. JCB are much better and only up the road, but it was obviously a better lease deal. Look at that, he's fast, isn't he? Great suspension.
If you want to know more, there are websites, apparently politicians will tell you this, about where you can go look at tractors. So there is the car ready to be removed. Now there is Darren Leung, and look who is behind him, Ian Logie. There aren't even any back markers. There's absolutely nothing to help Darren Leung on this restart when we get there. And Dan Harper, who's watching this probably with his sinking heart in the pit lane, Bryn, can have a thought or two about this. This is not looking good for them now, is it?
Yeah, a thought or two, bearing in mind we're live on Sky Sports F1, Dan. Every time I've come over to you, I've said it's going really, really well, and then all of a sudden it's not going really, really well, and safety cars seem to be the bane of your life here today.
Yeah, I mean, it just hasn't worked out. I mean, what a job Darren did. I've never seen a stint like that before from an AM or from a pro, in my opinion, so what a job, and I feel so sorry for him that it had to come down like that to a safety car at the end of his stint, because he deserved to have given me the car in that position. But I'm just going to have to go out and do my job, and it's never over, and it looks like we have a good bit of speed there, so I'm going to go out and give it everything I have, and it's not over to the checkered flag.
Have you spoken to Darren? Have you heard from him?
No, I haven't heard. I mean, he just came on the radio, I think, and said you're going to smoke everybody, so that's exactly what my job is now, and go and light up the smoke show.
It's not a statement, it's an instruction. Good luck, Dan.
Thank you.
Now, of course, the other side of this coin is that there could be a safety car in the second stint, and so any time lost in the pits would be gained back, but you can't really bank on that. If incidents are going to come, they're going to come at the start, where the cars are tightly bunched, where, with respect, the AMs, the less experienced drivers, are in the cars. Now, there is a phrase that the British Touring Car Championship often attends to, which is safety cars breed safety cars, and here we go. We've got them all bunched up, ready for the restart.
Yeah, and we're about to get a load of cold drivers bolted in halfway through this crazy race. And like I said earlier, this is the driest period of running we've had. None of these guys have done more than 2 or 3 laps in the dry that they had in qualifying. All of practice was wet or damp at best, so it's going to be really interesting to see where they go. And yeah, totally right, with the safety car in the first stint, when it hurts you, you only remember that. But when it does come out in the second half of the race and it helps you, that is your chance there. So that is what they'll be hoping for, that they can get a good few laps in, probably get Harper up the field, and then a safety car to bunch them all in, as we see that John Seal car being recovered. It's quite a hard car to recover, that Lamborghini. It's not a physical clutch pedal, so it's obviously stuck in gear. The clutch on the Lamborghini, the Audi actually, is on the steering wheel. It's quite a strange design, that there's the paddle shift to change gear, but also there, I'm just seeing temperature motor low alarm. So on the Cottingham car, obviously going so slow, looks like it's only in the 60 degrees. So the engine's actually getting too cold, ambient being so low today, like low teens. So you can see the Logie car, how much blanking it has on that radiator. The 2Cs maybe even be a little bit worried about that with the Cottingham car, the engine being too low. One for damage, but also performance. If it's not in its window, it might not be running as freely in that big old Mercedes V8.
So it is BMW from Mercedes, AMG from McLaren. The 4th car in the queue is the leader of GT4. But then you've got the GT3 Aston Martin, and now we are ready for the pit stops because they are imminent, with the GT4 and GT3 minimum times being slightly different. Remember, GT4 cars can be in first after 58 minutes, GT3 after 62. And again, this is where the teams need to get on well with their neighbours. They need to read who has been in around them, especially in GT3, because the last thing you need is to then not be able to get into your pit box because of traffic, or indeed get hemmed in as other cars arrive around you.
Yeah, that's almost the worst, the latter, when a car arrives, because they're obviously going to be there longer than you are, because you're already there. The teams have a few strategies. My favourite one is when the car gets put up in the air and they just put the rear skates underneath, and they can basically angle the car out and get it ready for the driver to go. As we see the R Racing GT4 leader Pitt making sure that he didn't overtake the GT3 car before he crossed the line. Did a really, really good job there, Miller. That was an easy mistake to do. DTO in, Academy in, Parker in, Optimum in, they're all in. So this is now a pit lane race, and we've got to factor in now their compensation times that they inherited from Brands Hatch.
And whether they are a silver or not, because that will elongate the pit stop. Of course you would come in now under a safety car because you're losing less time than you would under green flag conditions. And this, again, is actually quite good news for the GT3 teams because it gets all the GT4 stops out of the way before they are due in. So the pit lane should be clearer, but others are trying to find somewhere to park.
I think Kavi Jundu there in the paddock, McLaren that's leaving, has missed his box.
Right.
He's having to go all the way through the pit lane. You can see him leaving there on that onboard. I think we're going to see the DTO McLaren Artura lead as we leave the pits. The R Racing car has to serve a penalty of 15 extra seconds, whereas the DTO car is fully clear. Going through the procedure of how the pit stop works. So the car will stop, the driver gets out, the door is closed, they refuel. Once the fueling is finished, you can change the tyres and put the new driver in all at once. So Hopkins there getting in, sorting the seatbelts out. The minimum pit stop time here for safety, so the drivers aren't just jumping in, closing the door and sorting their belts out in a few laps. But you can see all the tyres, changing the tyres, all going for new tyres. See that McLaren with its fuel pipe just holding on it there. The teams will be talking to the drivers over the radio, just letting them know how long they've got.
Safety car in this lap. Safety car in this lap.
Okay, this is going to be spicy because the minimum pit stop time being 140 seconds, 2 minutes 20, is very close to what the safety car's been doing on its last few laps. So we're potentially going to get all these cars released as the GT3s come in. There's 26 seconds now until the GT3s can pit. It's going to be really tight. I think it might even be a case of the first few GT3s can't pit because the window's not open, but the guys further back can.
Well, it depends how slowly Darren Leung goes, doesn't it? Because now he is crawling round out of the Melbourne hairpin because he wants the window to open. The team will be on the radio saying, come in this time, and he accelerates now up towards Goddard's. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. He's going to be in this time, so he's timed that absolutely right. So now, as the GT4 field gets ready to leave, we've got one car that's going to stay out. It's Morgan Tilbrook. He will inherit the race lead. But now you've got virtually everybody in the pit lane. Some are about to go, some are coming in. Ian Loggy finds a parking space. Others might not be so fortunate.
Luckily, the safety car's reversing out the way there. 2Cs are safe at the moment. That Ginetta should move, but that's just been blocked in by Neary. DTO get released really well. They were scared they were going to get blocked in by all of this. Another Ginetta blocking the 2Cs in. I'd like to see the end of the pit lane. The Century BMW has had to go in at 45. The team is skating it round. They've got plenty of time. Dan saying, well done, enough time to give a handshake. How are these GT4s leaving? What order? The Academy cars are still together. The Century Mercedes BMW, has jumped up the order. The leading GT4 is now back because of that extra 15 seconds. Darren Burke and then Michael Broadhurst in the Mercedes respectively after. And this is straight back to green, so hopefully the drivers have been told the safety car has finished, because last time those GT4 drivers saw the screen, it was a safety car. So there will be a green light, but there's always a green light.
But now, of course, it's a different driver in the car, so they just have to push. Sam Neary in number 8, trying to find a way of being able to get back out from the rather crowded pit lane. Dan Harper, once the car has been refueled, will be allowed on board. The car has to be empty while the refueling goes on, and Dan and Darren say to one another either well done or good luck. Once the fueling is done, in will leap Dan Harper. The point Joe was making about no rush for them is because they have this extra 20 seconds to serve. These two cars, 1 and 2, Morgan Tilbrook, John Ferguson, they have yet to pit. They'll be in this time. Dan Harper then gets into the car that did lead the way. Darren Leung will help strap him in. And then at the end of the next couple of laps, once all the pit stops have cycled through, we'll have a proper look at the race order. Now, here comes Jules Gounod. That car, number 1, is going to inherit the race lead. In is coming John Ferguson behind. And so Dan Harper is going to drop down the queue. What might save him here is that others behind get boxed in the traffic and lose the odd second or two. Right, the BMW drops down. But second is going to be number 67. Up to third is going to be 88 McLaren. There goes Philip Ellis. Dan Harper being held. Go, go, go. No, not go, go, go. Ball drops again.
The car controller tried to give him a space. It looked like Harper wasn't quite ready for the launch, if I'm being brutally honest. I was also worried about the Optimum car that's just left in front. The passenger door of that car was open, and they have lost a lot of time. You think when the other GT4 cars have left, something has gone on with that car. I think they're at the championship. I can't see them being able to recover it.
Now this is significant because there's a Ginetta stranded on track. Now, Peter Daly will probably give that about 30 seconds to see if they can sort of cycle the car back into life, but he can't leave it there indefinitely because it's in a dangerous place, so he's going to give it time. There'll be a yellow flag. That'll be relayed in the cars as well, but that is a bit heart in mouth, and if it doesn't move soon, he's going to have to go safety car again, isn't he? Let's see, because you've got battles going on. Yeah, they are, absolutely.
I was really worried. Harper there was really tucked in behind the car in front, and in a left-hand drive car, that would be exactly in your blind spot of your pillar there, so that's got to be a safety car. Like you said, if that's not gone in the next 5 seconds, who's that going to help? That is going to help Harper for sure. He's not going to help with his track position. Marvin Kirchhofer hustling that Optimum GT3 McLaren now. He's behind. He's got nothing to lose. What's Philip Ellis going to do here?
Well, also, what is Johnny Edgar in 88 going to do? And I think the race leader is going to become now 78. No, Sean Balf's in the pits. It's going to be 67, isn't it? Michael O'Brien, as the battles continue through the traffic they come. And we are going to go safety car. Safety car again. That Ginetta has not got going. So the safety car is deployed once more. There it is down the pit lane. And so the safety car is on, well, will be on track in a moment. We'll go safety car conditions, but we've had the safety car called for. I think what they're going to do is go safety car conditions and then hold it until they've got the actual race leader nearby, then send the safety car out on track.
Yeah, everyone's seen the car now, so maybe the rush for the safety car isn't as imperative. That was close to the Enduro car with Cottingham on board now. Nearly got the lead, didn't he? He was that close to Gounon, so it was a clever move. An extra lap for Tilbrook. Yes, he would have been slower than an extra lap for Clutton, his teammate, but the clearer pit lane obviously worked out for them. The Ginetta only able to move backwards at the moment. I can't see any lights on, so you would guess it's some kind of electrical issue. So safety car called. What's going to happen? They're all going to bunch up. Is Rafael Marcello in third place, or are we still waiting for the timing screens to update on that one?
Waiting for it to update. He just left the pit lane. That car shown as the leader. Well, it led when it came in. It's going to put Jules Gounon, number one, into the lead of the race. It's Ben Collins' Ginetta, I think, that's ground to a halt. So at the end of this next lap, safety car is now on track, ready to pick up number one Mercedes as the race leader.
You saw Gounon pushing on, and he's got to push on because all of the guys pitting now aren't being held up. So the Barwell car has got an advantage if those cars had slowed down. I don't know how long he's got left for his pit stop, but if he should only have the 5-6 seconds remaining, he should be able to slot into third place as Sandy Mitchell leaves. That car is the biggest benefactor of this safety car, because none of those cars, Rafael Marcello, could not overtake that GT4 Ginetta. So there's been a real topsy-turvy, quick move around, hasn't it? That safety car has come at a very interesting point.
Yeah, and Sandy Mitchell's got nothing to lose in all of this. He can't win the championship, but he could win a race. And I think another winner has been Raffaele Marcello, because that Mercedes is going to be up now into fourth place. So at the end of the next lap, we'll have a proper order. But it is Jules Gounon then in the lead. In second place, we've got Marcus Klassen. And then in third place will be Sandy Mitchell. In fourth place, Raffaele Marcello there in the Mercedes. Fifth behind Michael O'Brien, number 67 McLaren. And actually Dan Harper has still got an awful lot of ground to make up. He needs another couple of laps for all the gaps to come down, because in the background I see no BMW.
13th he is at the moment. 3 safety cars have absolutely destroyed their chances so far, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Just have had no luck. I'm surprised of the effects positively for guys that didn't pit on that first lap available, as we see Harper weaving there. It's really kind of shuffled the pack. It's almost just put it on its head. If you didn't pit on that first lap, but you were outside the top 8 or 9 like most were, you're now in the top 8 or 9. So we're going to see there. I'm just quickly flicking down the order. Who do I think is going to be quick? I think Mitchell's probably the quickest guy out there. Gounon, yes, we know he's rapid, but Mitchell in the Lamborghini round here has been so quick. Ellis is all the way down in 8th. The championship leading car, remember. Who's he got around him? He's got Edgar in front, his first ever GT race. Yes, he's raced in F3, sorry, in 1 races. We know he's a fast driver, but in a very different car. Marvin Kirchhofer then behind Ellis. Ellis hasn't got it all easy here. Yes, he's a long way off the championship of where he needs to be to secure it, but this is he's gonna have to get fighting.
He's got 4 GT3 cars between himself and Dan Harper, but also for Dan, he has got to clear some of the GT4 traffic. At the moment, the best placed GT4 car there is number 29. This is the Tom Wrigley at the wheel of it, started by Ian Goff McLaren, the Race Lab entry. Now that's a Pro-Am car, so it has a shorter pit stop by 26 seconds, so that always brings them into the mix in the second part of the race, and they in turn are quite a long way up the road over the rest of the opposition, because the second GT4 car in the background, you'll see 36, there it is, Josh Rowledge in the DTO McLaren, and third in GT4 is number 14 BMW. So where did that put number 90? 27th overall, the Clark Brown McLaren. I think you were right, it did have a problem in the pit stop.
It was in there for at least 45 seconds longer. I can see the mechanics from Optimum in the passenger side, which is obviously not anything to do with a planned stop.
Yeah.
You can only assume a
safety car in this lap.
A battery issue, but I think this 14 car now, with my very poor mathematics, is probably our strongest contender for the championship as it stands, unless that Optimum car can have a stint of its life. But Charles Clark is going to have to find literally 8 to 10 spaces to get into the points there. So I think that 14 car is looking pretty good right now.
Yeah, I'd go along with that, because it comes into this second. It is the best placed of those fighting for the championship, because it has also now put itself ahead of both of the Mustangs. So there it is in the background, the purple BMW. Lights out on the safety car. You heard Peter Daly, the race director, give the instruction that it will be in this time. The safety car driven by Lorna Vickers, herself a very accomplished Formula Ford 1600 racer, and the safety car will dive in this time, possibly for refuelling. It's been used that much. You can see Sandy Mitchell on his toes, can't you, in third place, saying, right, now then, Marcus Klassen ahead in that McLaren. I'm coming, and Jules Gounon is the man who leads the way, the Frenchman. He now races under an Andorran licence, and that's his co-driver, Ian Loggy. Last year's champion. He's going to have to relinquish the crown, but he would like to go out with a race win. Marcus Klassen would like a race win. Sandy Mitchell would like a race win. And in fourth place, this year's GT World Challenge Endurance Cup co-champion with Jules Gounon, Raffaele Marciello would like a win. So we've got 48 minutes. We're about to go racing. This is going to be dramatic.
Yeah, Gounon goes early. Big slide there. Off. But Klassen, he has to overtake. I was about to say can't overtake. I correct myself because I was wrong with that. Gounon's gone off. Klassen can't do anything. He has to. I've never seen anything like that. We saw Longy have similar issues under braking. He has a wry smile. I don't think he can actually understand that one of the world's best GT drivers has gone off before we even got to the green flag. Klassen will be laughing through that helmet so much he might go off himself. He now needs to get his head down and see what Sandy Mitchell has got behind him.
Not only will Marcus Klassen be laughing, so will that man, Raffaele Marciello. He's shared a car with Jules in all the endurance rounds this year, and he'll be wondering what the ... as he saw Jules Gounon just seemingly go under steering out wide. Was that down to cold tyres?
A little bit, but he was working them hard. I think it was literally just a slight damp patch. Like I said, we saw Loggy and Cottingham in the sister car locking the brakes, and it just looked like a go-kart all of a sudden. The rear axle was locked. He sent it in sideways. Knew he couldn't get it stopped. Had to straighten up and take to the grass. But bizarre, really, really bizarre. I just think it's just caught him out a little bit. The car's full of fuel. They haven't done many dry laps. He was so fixated on a good exit from the previous corner. He arrived at that corner at terminal velocity, even possibly quicker than a normal lap, because he concentrated on such a good exit. He has now got to make up for that embarrassing mistake.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you haven't seen a fired-up Jules Gounon before, you're about to, because he's a man on a mission. There is Dan Harper, number 91 BMW. Right, he's got ahead of Chris Froggatt, so he's gained one place. Dan Harper, 46 minutes on the clock. He's got to try and attack, and you can see quickly how the gaps have opened up. He's still got GT4 traffic to clear, even before he can think about getting through the queue of cars ahead of him. But right now, it is 8th for Philip Ellis. It is going to be 12th for Dan Harper. As long as the Mercedes is ahead of the BMW, that's the job done.
But it's also the deficit being 13 points. Harper has to get to 5th. That's the first point-scoring place that gives more than 13. So if he's not 5th, it doesn't matter about anything. That's 7 places in front of him. That is, I think it's too much of an ask. I just can't see it happening without a massive, massive issue in front. Even that's going to be a lot of cars wiped up. Kirchhoff with a poor exit there, and we see Ross Gunn's going to try and set him up. Hard to get a run around that corner. Third gear in the dirty air, hard to get the difference. Kirchhoff on the defence, he's not looking happy. Spoke to Chaz, the engineer of that car. He thought Kirchhoff was going to win this race, so I can't see that one happening either. But this has been such an explosion with all that's gone on this weekend. No one really knows where anyone is, and I think that's why it's the best British GT race I can remember in a long time.
Now there is champion-elect in GT4 then. Michael Johnston and Chris Sulkelt ahead of number 18 of Dan Vaughan. Tom Ingram in the lapped down Aston is next, so he's taken over that car, and
so that must mean the Optimum car is also a lap down. I think the 90 car, see the orange nose of it. So although it looks okay track position, that is a lap down. And like I said, without being defeated, that is the championship gone. Doesn't matter how good the car looks, it's just not had any luck in the last 3 rounds. Tom Ingram quite rightly able to fight. Yes, you're a lap down, but if you were able to get in front of the GT4 leader and another safety car, and then the GT3 leader is in the right point, maybe you get that lap back. So it's great to see Tom Ingram in a proper car now, having fun and getting down the inside of that McLaren.
Yeah, if you watch the British Touring Car Championship, here it's very good. You'll know exactly how feisty a racer Tom Ingram is. Returning to rear-wheel drive cars, he came out of Ginetta Juniors and Ginetta Super Cup before he went into the BTCC, and there he is fending off number 90 then with Charles Clark at the wheel. Fastest lap of the race, Dan Harper, man on a mission. He's got a lot of work to do, and I don't think it's going to be enough unless the Mercedes, the yellow Mercedes of Philip Ellis has a problem, but Dan Harper is doing all he can do, and that is drive flat out. But you've got to feel for Darren Leung, haven't you? After all his efforts, those safety cars have done him such an injustice.
Yeah, he couldn't have done any more. The interesting bit at the end of this race is if you just took one of those safety cars away, let's give him the best one. He was 16 seconds in the lead. At the moment, Harper's 11 seconds. Sandy Mitchell with a big old slide out there, right on the back of Clutton. Clutton not defending, so he's obviously happy. He's got the brake performance. I say that, and he cuts across the front of Mitchell just at the last moment to get that Marcello looming in the background. 3 different cars. That Lamborghini's been so quick enough to drive on the grass to show his intent. I love when these drivers get in. Marcus Clutton, super aggressive in and out the car. Sandy Mitchell, however, so quiet, so done, but look at that run he's going to have on the inside. I think this is going to be a big battle. Is Clutton going to lift? No, he won't. Is Mitchell going to hang around the outside? Yes, he will. And then it comes to Mitchell. That should be job done. He just needs to ease Clutton out the way, which he does well.
Sandy Mitchell, race leader at effectively his home circuit. Lives in Nottingham these days. So the Scottish driver up front. And now that he has gone ahead, then this, again, is another facet of the race that we weren't expecting, because the leading cars now were not really in that leading group in the first stint. Look, Raffaele Marcello, who again is one of the absolute stars in a Mercedes, Snetterton winner with John Ferguson. He is charging. And what about Jules Gounon? He is still in 5th place, trying to make amends. The rather red-faced Jules Gounon going after Michael O'Brien there. And then in 6th place, it is Martin Plowman in a car that was not brand new, but new to them overnight after a crashed car yesterday. It's amazing how fortunes have changed over the course of the weekend and even during the race.
Yeah, and we see Marcello closing in Mike O'Brien as well. I think this could become sort of a 4-car battle pack. Clutton, Marcello, O'Brien, then Gounon. So really interesting. Looking at Ellis, still in a bit of a battle. Gunn has cleared Kirchhoff, is now looking down the inside, lets the car go. He'll be being told by the 2
Car
Cs.
29, black and white flag, final track limit warning in the race. 29, final warning.
That's the Ian Goff, Tom Wrigley McLaren, which is the leading GT4 car, incidentally. Right, Philip Ellis being told by the team about that car's progress, I guess.
Exactly, but there's also no stress. Like I said, that car, the BMW, needs to get to 5th position. We are in a scenario where potentially the absent Johnny Adams could still be champion. If Ellis was to finish 11th or lower and Dan Harper was 5th or lower, he would still have the most points alongside Cottingham. So an absent champion could be the dream
Team
for the
manager
Adams
car
family
4
there.
to race control.
But there's still a lot to play out. Yes, Harper's got the pace, but I just can't see him really getting anywhere. I think 8th is probably best.
The team manager of that car is going to race control. The team manager of number 4, the championship-leading Mercedes, has just been called to race control by the race director.
I think that's just to check his spelling on how to put the engravement on the trophy, or something a bit more sinister. We saw nothing in the pit stop that you would say was bad. We saw nothing from Cottingham that was bad. I haven't seen anything from this young man, Ellis, to say. As Gounon gets down the inside of O'Brien, that's one place to wipe off that slight embarrassment.
It could be for a pit stop that was too short on the regulation time. It could be for the number of personnel working on the car. It could be for something else from the pit stop. We'll wait and see if anything comes of it. But the number 4 Mercedes, then, team manager has been sent to see the race director. As there now, number 15, Raffaele Marcello, is on the back of Marcus Klassen. Sandy Mitchell, fastest lap of the race. He's away and gone up the road.
Yeah, we saw him so fast in Q2 yesterday. The Barwell guys always have a fast car here at Donington. Just the nature of the circuit seems to lend it to that mid-enginedness of the Lamborghini, especially in the final sector where it's all about traction. Yes, the McLaren has a mid-engine, but the turbos of that car just make it slightly harder to get the drive out of the corners, whereas that Lamborghini still has a fabulous naturally aspirated V10 engine. As we look at the 29 car of
Tom Wrigley.
Yeah, Tom Wrigley, and he's on his last warning for track limits, but he's the leader of GT4.
But that gap is coming down, look, because Tom Wrigley being caught by Josh Rowledge, 0.8 of a second between those two as they come over the line. Third in GT4, Lewis Plato in number 22 BMW. Touring car fans know, no relation to Jason. And there, number 62 Mustang up the inside. That's Matt Nicol-Jones going ahead of Chris Solkeld, who is still heading for the championship, but only just. He's just lost another place. So now that he's dropped back behind the Mustang, that I think is going to throw the advantage back the way of number 90. So the graphic was right when it came onto your screen. It was wrong by the end because the Mustang going ahead of the BMW changes things again.
I'm amazed at the lack of pace that BMW's got. We saw how strong it's been, but the Mustangs are all over it. And like I said, I thought the Optimum car was out of it because that car's been
drive-through penalty, overtaking car 88 under yellow flag. Car 4, drive-through.
So Philip Ellis, a drive-through penalty. The championship leading car, drive-through for overtaking 88 under the waved yellow flags. Go on.
I think Johnny Adams paid for that. I think that takes him out the points, and they're still going to win the championship as a collective. I think.
Let's have a look and see what exactly happened. So we're behind the yellow flag situation. Yellow flags on the side of the road. Everybody slows, and 88 does not. Goes through, gains places under yellow flags, and that's James Cottingham being given the news.
It looks bad. Yes, there's yellow flag. Yes, he's overtaken. But he was just probably level with the car that was the incident. And it's just such a... He didn't wait for the green flag, so he's anticipated. The problem is there. I'm past the problem. I should be able to overtake. He just was a bit impatient waiting for that green flag to continue on his progress. As we see Harper right on the back of him. I don't think there's going to be much fight here. Shouldn't really look to hold him up. He's obviously knowing he's going to box soon, so he's just trying to back Harper away to just mitigate any chance of it.
Right, here we go. 91 BMW then, on the back of number 4 Mercedes. So Dan Harper is on the attack. The drive-through has been given for number 4 Mercedes. Is Philip Ellis going to come in this time? He's got 3 passings of the timing line after the penalty's issued. He's not come in. That's his first.
Maybe just because I'm a horrible person, but if I was Dan Harper, I'd be looking for a cutback out of every time out the last corner to stop him being able to get into the pit lane. You imagine he gets to the inside of Ellis and he can't come into the pits. If he can do that, that'd be amazing. Ellis is given a robust fight here. There's a long way round, so my dream of him being a horrible man dies on that one, but he's got a pit in the next 2 laps.
As indeed. So Dan Harper clears number 4 Mercedes, now starts to pull away. As far as the championship is concerned, what we now need to see is where the Mercedes is going to be after it has served that drive-through, because until we know where that car is in relation to the BMW, we can't really start applying points, because at the moment the BMW is ahead by 1 spot, but the BMW crew feeling a lot more confident right now.
I still just don't see them getting up to 5th. That Mercedes is going to be nowhere. 20 seconds with the drive-through that he's going to lose. He's going to be last, maybe just behind one of the GT4 cars if they haven't lost too much time on this lap. So now it is all on Harper, currently 9th overall. 4 more places to go. Looks like he's got Edgar in his sights. Looks like he might have Ross Gunn, but then it starts to get a little harder.
Right, James Cottingham, if we can get the bleep machine ready, Bryn might be able to offer his thoughts.
Yeah, I've already prepped him for that one there. The bleep machine is on standby for sure. So James is here watching on at the moment as his teammate comes into the pits here, and the drive-through is happening at this moment. James, you said to me just off camera that you didn't see the yellows.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I actually didn't see the onboard just then, but I heard what the guys were saying. But I just came out of coppice onto the back straight, and there was action, drama, you know, McLaren nearly hitting the back of a Mustang that was almost stationary, and I went round the left. And then I saw, obviously, the car on the grass and a green flag ahead, so I thought to myself, there could have been a yellow there that I haven't seen because of the action, and yeah, look, an honest mistake. And had it have not been for the safety car, I would have dropped back and done whatever if I'd known that there was a yellow flag, but I didn't know. So just really bad luck. And looking at the way the BMW is going, they've got to have some really bad luck because it's just so fast. So unfortunately, all I can do is cross my fingers now.
35 minutes, they've got to gain 4 positions, I think. Best of luck to you, James.
Thank you.
At least James Cottingham, if this is any consolation, can say, well, it was down to him, not his co-driver. So have a look again on the left-hand side, the yellow flag, and it's been waved, which means no overtaking. James Cottingham eventually sort of cottoned on that people were slaying, but he'd already overtaken at least a couple of cars. So he's back to rights, isn't he?
Yeah, the closing speed's just so quick to try and give him a defence. Those GT4 cars, so much going on. Just the natural closing speed of them going slow, and the GT3's having to like check up really. It's really, really difficult there. But I just think James must have been so fixated on it. He missed the flag, but there's also a light panel flashing there, so he knows he's wrong. There's no way around it. I'm surprised he's as negative as he is. I can't see Harper really going any faster. Yes, he's on a fast lap, but the last few laps have been a bit more normal as we see Gounon chop across the front there of Michael Bordas. That was pretty aggressive. Gounon coming through here. I'm sure all these European boys must love this added dice of element. Yes, they do their VLN stuff at the Nürburgring, which is multi-class. But this on short circuits compared to GT World Challenge, which we know has massive grids in the 50s and 60s, but all GT3 machinery. So a very different skill set you have to possess. And again, it's just a nice string to have on your bow when you're good at it.
James Cottingham is still heading for the championship, I would offer you, because at the moment he will be on 162 points, and where the BMW is, which is currently 8th in the race, it would be on 155. So Dan Harper needs to clear another 3 cars in order to win the championship, and they've got to be GT3 cars. That's a GT4 McLaren he's just got past. Ideally, some could take each other out, but that battle up the road there you can see between Martin Plowman and Ross Gunn, he's got to get past that, and then he's got to catch and pass Michael O'Brien. It is all very, very busy ahead, and you can see there, look, the 3 of them are together. Here comes Harper. He's got to get past those next 3 cars to win the championship. There are now 4 in the line, 33 minutes and counting. It is game on. That red BMW needs to get past 97 Aston, 11 McLaren, 67 McLaren to win the championship. It's easier said than done when there's so much going on.
He's going to get a mega run there. Ross Gunn was really cut up there, wasn't he, by the Mustang coming down the inside with Dan Harper flying through the craners. Not really an overtaking spot, the next point into the old hairpin, but he's looking to the inside, tries to prove me wrong. I actually thought at one moment it was all on, but the Mustang, I think, just caused him a bit of confusion. Of course he's on the front foot, but he can't afford any damage. As soon as you get damage on these GT3 cars, you lose so much performance with the aero. Ross Gunn running a little bit wide there. Ross Gunn, factory driver, Aston Martin. Who else is a factory driver, Aston Martin? Johnny Adam, they're good friends. He knows that if he can hold Harper up, he's going to give a better chance to Johnny Adam. There's so many dynamics at play here. But this BMW, look at straight line performance. It is a rocket ship. It is so quick. What's his exit going to be like out this chicane? Tucks it in well, better. Going to get a run on Ross Gunn. Is it going to be enough? What does Ross Gunn do? Runs him to the line. That's for you, Johnny, who'll be screaming in a Braveheart manner. Down the outside, though, for Harper. What can we do? We haven't really seen this work yet. And that is another lap where he's going to get an inside run, potentially into the last corner.
To the inside line then goes the BMW, goes through, does he? Yes, that sorts out the Aston. Wow. So he's got himself up past Ross Gunn, and he's right there on the back also of number 11, Martin Plowman, who is trying to work his way through the traffic. While all that's going on, by the way, the BMW number 14 of Chris Solkeld is dropping in GT4. Harper's going to get through on the inside. That's it, 2 of the 3 places done in quick succession. Fantastic dive.
He's going to win the championship. I've changed my mind completely. That was a move that we saw him do at Silverstone into Brooklands. He just sends the car while the driver in front hasn't even thought the overtake is on, and he's just done. It is such a refreshing driving style we're seeing from Dan Harper. He's so aggressive, but so calculated in equal measures. I generally haven't seen a driver like him with these sort of overtakes so often and so cleanly. One more car and he's the championship leader. That car is the orange car in front of Mikey O'Brien, and he has been catching at an alarming rate of knots.
Right now, Dan Harper and Darren Leung are sitting on 161 points. James Cottingham is sitting on 162. One more place gain for Dan Harper. It's job done. Ross Gunn right on the back of Martin Plowman. They're having their own battle. It's for race and place. Never mind for the championship. And look, GT4 lead is about to change. Josh Rowledge up the inside of the background. So the two McLarens absolutely side by side. Dan Harper gets up the inside of Michael O'Brien. He's going to go through. Is he on the inside? Not quite. It's going to be the outside line up towards Goddard's. Behind them, the GT4 race lead is set to change. You can see the two McLarens are nose to tail. Dan Harper diving into Goddard's, wasn't quite able to level with Michael O'Brien there. 29 of Tom Wrigley is sideways. He goes out wide. Over the timing line have gone the race leaders. Dan Harper there, look on the inside line into Redgate. He's going to go through on the inside. That's enough to win the championship. He's gone through. He's ahead of O'Brien now. That puts him 5th.
30 minutes to spare. What's Ellis got now? He's 4 places away from the points, so he's got a lot of work to do to even get back up there. Harper has actually got time now. Where's his sights set? Gounon in front, only 1.3 seconds in front. He's going to be with him as we go on board. It's the old up and around the outside. O'Brien goes in deep, then Harper gets a mega drive out there. Look at that, lovely traction. Which way is he going to go? Goes to the right. O'Brien doesn't defend. I'm surprised by that, if I'm honest. And it gives the inside to Harper. Gets it stopped lovely. Picks the apex up. Job done. Look at Darren Leung. I don't know what emotion he knows to display. I think he's probably gone for every single one he knows in the last 90 minutes so far.
Yeah, it's going to be quite a party tonight if it comes off, isn't it, for number 91 BMW. Right, so Dan Harper now is where he needs to be in this amazing race of changing fortunes. I mean, we've still got a quarter of it to go. So look at half an hour left. Anything can yet happen. Now, GT4, let's concentrate on this because the lead hasn't quite changed. Tom Wrigley, who's been a Ginetta champion, is still keeping Josh Rowledge at bay. That, just to illustrate, is where we stand at the moment for the championship, allegedly. Which I don't think he's quite right anymore, seeing that Darren Leung and Dan Harper have gained enough places to be ahead. So we'll ignore that and concentrate on GT4. So 29 McLaren has actually, thanks to GT3 traffic, stretched the advantage a bit this time around.
Yeah, it really has. And just look at the GT4 championship standing now. It's all gone on its head. It looked like Century were going to win GT4, but not GT3. And now it's the opposite. I just can't see them winning GT4. The pace of Selkoud has been really, really poor in this second stint. I don't know if that car has got a problem, but even with a massive problem going a lap down, the Option car now leading the championship is there in shot. Just needs to stroke it home at the moment. It's really been a topsy-turvy GT4 one, with cars finding pace, losing pace, having problems, safety cars. So at the moment, the team just need to be telling Charles, just chill. It doesn't look like there's many cars you're going to be able to catch. You can see Rowledge in front of the DTO car, but that's a lap ahead. So he's almost just got to drive round for the next 28 minutes to win that championship.
Now, Ian Goff and Tom Wrigley, who are leading the GT4 part of the race, they were very much the outsiders coming into this. So they are heading for victory in the race, possibly, even if they can't win the championship. But they've had a good season. Remember, they are Pro-Ams against these Silvers, so there's always that slight difference in pace, but they gained that back on the pit stops. But they are still under pressure from Josh Rowledge then as they come through the S's. Tom Wrigley, who's seen in Ginettas winning championships, in Porsches too. Now, Dan Harper has not done yet. Never mind, Jules Gounon, that you are a GT World Challenge Endurance Champion. I am right behind you, looking for a way through, and Dan Harper, look, going one way and then the other under braking. Jules Gounon defending well. But again, that Mercedes just not looking as fleet of foot as the BMW that is on an absolute mission. I mean, Dan Harper, we were wondering how far up the order he could get. He's cleared the traffic he needed to. He's caught the next gaggle of cars and he's up the inside and another place gained into the unhappy.
12,
fantastic
final track
drive.
limit warning in the race, black and white flag.
Absolutely.
Car 67, final track limit warning in the race, black and white flag.
Amazing is what I was about to say. We saw how close he was. It actually must have taken a lot of aero off Gounon, because Craner's is easy flat, especially in that Mercedes. Gounon had a massive slap, and I think it was because Harper was so close. He was taking the rear wing and the diffuser grip away from him, and then just sent it down inside on the old hairpin, the corner. I said it's impossible to overtake. That BMW is flying. They have absolutely nailed the setup of that car. It has got so much straight line performance. It is absolutely motoring along. This is interesting for the championship, because at the moment, as we see the graphic there, this car is leading the championship. But if Rowledge was to get past them, they would then drop behind Cowley on the points on that one, and Cowley at the moment is making good pace and potentially is on the back of Plato and another BMW GT4 car. So there's so many dynamics going here. Yes, the championship protagonists aren't racing against each other directly on track, but where they are in relation to others is the big point at the moment.
So the two McLarens together again as they come now down to the Melbourne hairpin. Ian Goff and Tom Wrigley then leading GT4 in the race and provisionally ahead in the championship as well. Now for a Pro-Am combination to win it, well, we were talking about the BMW drivers earlier, but it could be a McLaren Pro-Am combo that does it. It's all rather dependent though on whether or not Tom Wrigley here keeps Josh Rowledge at bay until the end, and 25 minutes, nearly 26 minutes remain. Here's Harper, he's now up with Raffaele Marciello, who is another Mercedes factory driver. Dan Harper is a BMW factory driver. Now look how Harper's pulled away from Gounon. That BMW is absolutely flying. He lines up for a go on the inside to the S's, can't get through that. Flash of the lights to try to distract Marciello. Good luck with that. But the exit of the S's is such that now Demon Dan thinks about the inside line down towards the Melbourne hairpin. There's the gap, there's the move, there's the place. Job done. Darren, look, can't believe it.
No defence whatsoever from Marciello.
Team manager car 8 to race control, please.
He's obviously just realised there's no point defending and losing time on that one. He even saw his brake lights flash. I don't know if that was a signal to Harper to say I'm not going to defend on that one, but Harper's just flying. I genuinely haven't seen a stint like this in so much pace. He was so calm when he spoke to Bryn only minutes before getting in the car, but he obviously has fired himself up and off he goes. You can't even see Ellis in that 2C's car in that shot. Going to Kirchhofer now behind Plowman. Him and Gunner sort of doing the same pace.
Car 56, drive-through penalty, track limits. Car 56.
That's Stuart Middleton's Ginetta, 56. Peter Daly is the voice you can hear from race control, the race director. Yeah, Philip Ellis is in 14th place, and his last lap was a 27.2. It's a good pace. I mean, it's the same kind of pace that Dan Harper is doing. He just can't make the progress. And here's, to a degree, Joe, a bit of Donington knowledge. Dan Harper's done many a mile around here. Philip Ellis has never been here before.
Yeah, especially again in the dry. So we'll go on board, looking at the silver battle. Froggatt versus Tregurtha there. Froggatt getting a mega run. Lambo just coming across. We know the Lamborghini's quick. The sister car's leading the race overall. Froggatt looking for the cutback. Can't do it, so just gives him a little nudge to let him know he's there. You can see the dirty air. McLaren just washing out a little bit. Lamborghini, a great straight line performance there, pulling away. So the McLaren obviously has got to be stronger on the brakes and the corner to make him do the same sort of lap time. Good with the track limits, both of them there, pretty equal out of here. But this is going to get quite spicy. You can see how punchy Froggatt was with Tregurtha in front of him. I'm surprised Tregurtha isn't able just to get the car out of these corners a little bit better. As I say that, he does get a mega exit and just probably is safe for another couple of corners from Froggatt's advances.
Don't forget, 93 had to serve that drive-through penalty right at the start of the race because of so-called behavioural warning points. If you get 5 of them, a penalty comes. And so Kevin Sayes, the start driver, had to serve that penalty. The safety cars have helped them come back into the picture here. So the Simply Race back Will Tregurtha coming out of Hollywood now with Chris Froggatt, the Sky Tempesta Racing driver, tucked up behind. And all of this is on the track for 11th and 12th places.
Car 8,
silver
10 seconds stop-go penalty, pit stop infringement. Refuelling without the car in the correct position on the ground.
So more penalties are coming, but you're riding with Chris Froggatt, who breaks up towards McLean's. Will Tregurtha, for the moment, just seems to have the measure of it.
Yeah, when we first cut to this, it looked like Froggatt was definitely a lot faster, but the lap that we've followed now actually looks a lot more even just going in Tregurtha's favour, obviously, now pulled probably 2 or 3 lengths. Froggatt on the headlight flash there, so his right thumb going for the top right button, that's the headlight flash. 3 flashes given. See a bit of the dash flapping around, gets a mega run through there. This is always the best overtaking opportunity. Tregurtha just looking as we go to the sister Barwell car of Mitchell. 6.2 seconds ahead last time across, just down to 5.9 now. Cotton has gone, but I think Sandy will be in a controlling manner here as we come probably only 11 or 12 more laps to go. He's in a nice place. The only thing that's about to change is in the next lap he will catch the back of the GT4 pack.
So Sandy Mitchell leading by very nearly 6 seconds here from Marcus Classen. There he is in 2nd place in the McLaren, and then 3rd you can see in the background in actually catching him is Dan Harper, whose last lap was a 26.4. Dan Harper, nearly 8 seconds off the lead. He's lapping quicker than the two ahead. He's not done yet, is he? This is an amazing drive.
Yeah, he's currently 8 seconds behind Sandy Mitchell. I was saying had it easy, but was catching him at 8/10 of a lap. So 10 laps time, he's going to be on the back of Mitchell, and that's not allowing for traffic holding these up. Big change here. So Optimum have jumped both of them. Rowledge still behind Wrigley. Wrigley would still win the championship as it stands, but Cowley now is in front of Plato, has just done it on that last lap, so that's going to change it again. I just wonder if Rowledge and DTO is thinking of his McLaren future. If he stays behind, it helps assist the McLaren team. Is he just holding station here, or is he trying to get past? That's a hard thing to call. I would say it was the former, because Charles Clark has jumped both of them. I think Rowledge and Clark are similar pace.
But Clark, don't forget, is a lap down after that bad pit stop. So what he's done is unlap himself, but he's not leading the class. He might have got track position, but in terms of in the race position, it's still Wrigley versus Rowledge for the class win.
Yeah, I just think if Clark's able to get past them, Rowledge would as well. There's a 10th or two in one way or the other. Not saying Wrigley isn't quick, but just with that pro-am nature of the car. But Cowley has got pace, and I'm not sure if that graphic is fully up to date, because he's just overtaken that BMW, and so he's going to get another 4 points, I think it is, for moving up from 4th to 3rd place. So I think he will now be the championship leader.
Change and change and change again. So that Mustang is hustling on. Number 90 looking quick, but it's out of position. It is a lap down after that slow pit stop. So the advance of the Mustang means that number 61 now is the, in effect, class leader. And as they come down through the Melbourne hairpin, Josh Rowledge on the tail of Tom Wrigley. Wrigley can do no more than win the class. Now this is for 2nd place in the race. Dan Harper has caught Marcus Klassen. Where was he after the pit stop? 13th or something like that, or not lower. So Dan Harper has just driven the most amazing stint. We were praising Darren Leung, but you've got to give credit to Dan Harper. He wants to win the race and win the championship, doesn't he? And deep into the corner goes Clutton. The door is wide open for Dan Harper. He gets up the inside, coming out of the corner at the Melbourne hairpin. That's the outside line into Goddard's. Dan Harper breaks as late as he dares. Wants to switch back, gets the cutback.
Doesn't need to get involved in this.
No, he doesn't.
He really doesn't. He's a racer, and he's being smart at the moment. He's got to remember, Marcus Clutton, that McLaren, has nothing to lose. They're not in the championship, and he will be fighting for everything he's got. Of course, if he gets an easy overtake, like he looks like he was about to then, until Clutton closed the door in front of him, yes, you take it, but there can be no risk here whatsoever. Is he going to send another one up? No. Clutton gets a mega run through the middle. Crane is there, actually. Harper just backing out of it a little bit, just considering his options. Clutton running a little bit wide. Got to be careful. There's a sensor there. 2 GT4 cars on the horizon. Harper will be looking at that, trying to plan where they're going to meet them. It's probably going to be at the end of the next straight into the chicane.
Car 12, drive-through penalty, track limits. Car 12.
So Michael Broadhurst there getting a track limit penalty. I think that is also going to be coming thick and fast as we get towards the end of the race. Cowley now on the inside of Rowledge, getting the job done, and I think he's got enough pace to even just completely clear Wrigley. I think Rowledge's done a good job there being a rear gunner for Wrigley, but I don't think it's going to actually make a difference in the end. This Mustang has just got mega pace.
And this is going to be the GT4 championship winning car, seemingly. So Eric Evans and Matt Cowley will be on 130.5 points now as they come up towards the line, that putting them ahead of Goff and Wrigley. In the meantime, Sandy Mitchell, the overall race leader, is on 2 track limit warnings. Marcus Klassen here is on 3, and Dan Harper is only on 1, despite all the overtaking and all the energy he's had to put in. So in that respect, he's done an exemplary job. You know, there are some races that stick in your mind as the one race that somebody really stood out in their career. For Dan Harper, this has got to be it. For Darren Leung, this has got to be it. The absolutely perfect drive from both thus far, to win a championship. Now for 2nd place, nose to tail down through the crane and curves. And as Joe has made the point, Dan Harper doesn't need to do anything else. He just needs to sit there and gain the point. But the racer in him means he's still pushing.
Yeah, you never know what could happen behind. Ellis could get given a load of places. So this is now the Mustang for the championship. Is he going to get down the inside and try and go tight into the chicane, make Wrigley get a bad run? You can see Wrigley look over into his right mirror. Look at the power that Mustang's going to outdrag and completely clear him. That is American muscle for you right there. Mega move, and he's going to go. And I think he's just going to disappear as we see a very, very happy looking teammate there of Eric Evans.
Absolutely right. Right, let's go to the pit lane. Bryn is down there, basking in all of this excitement. Bryn?
Well, do you know what? I've been standing in this garage for a while. We've been trying to work out what's going on with points. Eric, you've just watched your teammate take the lead. We didn't believe this was going to happen at the start of the race. You've got 9 of your family members here as well joining you.
We pretty much just said, like, we're just going to do the best we can. I think that safety car right before the pits really helped us, and we knew we had the pace to go be the fastest ones out there. I mean, like, even during my stint, I knew that we had the pace. It just kept being safety car to safety car. But yeah, a bunch of my family flew in from the United States to come see this. So hopefully we just keep it on the track and keep it going. I don't want to jinx anything. So.
Well, we won't jinx it anymore. Good luck to you so far.
Thank you.
Matt Cowley, the man behind the wheel, he did a season of GT4 in Europe, but it was really in Formula 4 1600 that Matt Cowley made his name. Very underfunded, very quick, very underrated driver, and he's fully deserving of a title. Comes from Staley Bridge in Greater Manchester, good Northwest lad, and heading to be GT4 champion if things stay as they are in what has been a very dramatic race. As Dan Harper then still pushes on, chasing after Marcus Clutton. Sandy Mitchell 7.4 seconds up the road, as now Josh Rowledge gets up the inside. This is for second in the GT4 race. 29 is Tom Wrigley, 36 is Josh Rowledge on the outside line, and Wrigley last to the late breakers.
Really cut across the front of him nicely there. I wonder if Rowledge has now given up and is racing hard, pushing him along Clutton to the outside. I hope they've both seen him in the outside there. Harper has just chilled his advance, hasn't he? I think he's probably had a little reminder from the team going, you're doing really well, mate. You're on the podium. We don't need anything more. Championship is ours. We don't need to change anything. If the opportunity arises on Clutton, take it. But I think the risk level has now been turned down to just think about the overall points. Overall points in GT4, yeah, big jump now, isn't it, for Cowley, inheriting the lead, 133, and actually now Optimum in second on a 24.5. Got to feel for the Optimum crew, think how close they were to seeing the championship 2 rounds ago, and just rotten luck has set in, and looks like it's job done, and I can't see anything really changing on that front now.
So Dan Harper still in third place, sitting on the back of Marcus Clutton, applying the pressure. Darren Leung, the driver that started the BMW number 91, he's only in his 3rd season of racing. He's been one of the fastest learners I think we've ever come across to get to this level and that pace this quickly. He's done quite a bit of racing, admittedly, but a very, very fast learner, and Darren Leung has looked absolutely mighty. Dan Harper then illustrating why he's a BMW factory driver, and he's right there on the back of Marcus Clutton. Now let's just see whether or not there can be a move this time. Don't think it is, and that means that we can check in with Darren Leung, who's with Bryn.
Do you know what, this race, I think I've gone it grayer than I was before. Now, Darren, why is Dan still overtaking people? Has the message not got to him just to take it easy now?
Yeah, I think he is taking it easy, but yeah, I think the guy's just got one mode really. If it's there, he's going to take it, and you know we want to see him drive, so have at it.
Do you want to see him drive, or do you want to see him take it a bit easy now and not risk anything?
I wanted to be out there and enjoying it. Come on, mate. You know, it's been a really long season for us. We've worked really hard, and you know everybody's been spending a lot of time away from home. You know, working towards this dream that we've got. And just out there now, the biggest thing I want him to do is just enjoy it.
Get back to your entourage and enjoy the next 15, 20 minutes if you can.
Yeah, it's a bit ropey.
Don't look at Dan Harper, they did a bit of GT Cup racing here the other week, just a bit of a toe in the water just to gain some data. Coming out of the old hairpin then and chasing on in pursuit of Marcus Clutton. But yes, the amount of commitment is still there, but there isn't quite the same need anymore to gain that second place. So yeah, I think you're right. If a gap opened up, Dan would go for it, but there's no need now to force the issue. What a race though.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, Dan looks pretty calm as we ride on board of him. He actually saw him at just one of the monitors. Frogget there is in front of Jugurtha, that has a lot of damage on the front left corner. He's lost all the dive planes that I thought the Enduro car was going to lose. So has there been contact between the two of them? You can see that gaping hole there. Has that got a bit of Lamborghini bodywork in it somewhere? There was a bit of fluoro yellow flapping around. I'm not sure if that's off the back of Tregurtha or not, but we'll go to Tregurtha's rear. All looked clean, didn't it? So possibly something else has caused the damage, maybe this tyre stack that they're approaching on the left-hand side. But mega job by Frogger. He's really come on in the last 2 or 3 races. Him and Kevin Say, Garage 59, top team. We know they've got a fast car, but those 2 drivers have really got on top of that car and really got quick as damage. Rowledge hits Wrigley. So I thought he's doing a mega job of being a rear gunner for him, but I don't think you're meant to hit your comrade when you're helping out. Is there any damage to the radiators in that Artura? It doesn't look like it's leaking anything, but potentially a bit of damage on the race lab car though.
Second in GT4 they're fighting for. Don't forget that Matt Cowley has caught them and passed them and scarpered, but for second in the race then, Tom Wrigley versus Josh Rowledge. They're both cleared by Johnny Edgar then in the Garage 59 McLaren, the car that he's taken over from Miguel Ramos. Johnny Edgar, part of the British Racing Drivers Club's Superstars scheme to bring on British talents, and Johnny, who had to sort of sit out quite a chunk of last year when he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Just great to have him back racing.
Yeah, so cool as well to see him in a completely different discipline and be competitive straight away. Obviously a single seater so different. The lucky bit for him is that obviously the McLaren is a carbon fibre tub. So let's have a look at this again. What does Rowledge do? Dives late, trying to follow through, isn't he, on the GT3 car, but misses the apex and just collides to Wrigley. For me, that was really messy, and luckily for him, he didn't gain an advantage, so I don't think he'll get a penalty, but that splitter is destroyed on that car. He's got very lucky that it's not damaged the radiators, and that would have been race done for him.
So there, looking to try to win the silver AM part of the championship, Chris Froggatt then, who made his name really in Ferraris for a number of seasons in the one-make international championships, then came into long-distance GT racing with a Ferrari, and after a few years of that, went to Mercedes last year, had a horrible season, couldn't get his hat on with it at all. They went through 3 different teams, the results never came. By the end of the year, they went to Abu Dhabi, raced the McLaren. It was an instantly better fit, better motivation, better feeling all round, and they've stuck with it for this year.
You know what? I developed that car. So everything they like about it is all me. Everything they don't like was Rob Bell, by the way. He did that bit, but I did the good bit. As we go to Marcus Clutton in another McLaren, he's lost the place to Harper. Where's that happened? And a lot. So I would suggest that's a mistake from Clutton rather than just a general overtake. So Dan Harper here, we go on board into the chicane. No GT4 cars that I can see in front, and the braking all looks normal. Turned in quite aggressively late, goes in deep. And I think what it is, because he's on his last track limit warnings, he was scared to cut the right, so had to slow it, had to make more of a corner than it normally is, and it just gave Harper the easiest overtake he will ever get. 8.8 seconds, 9 minutes to go. Is he going to catch Sandy Mitchell?
He's not, but he's not going to take this lie down, is he? The championship is theirs, so Dan Harper needs to bring it home. But now that he's got a clear road ahead of him, he's going to bring down the gap, I reckon. Clutton third, fourth Marcello, fifth Gounon, sixth there in the background, Ross Gunn.
What I love most is that graphic on the left, just before it changed to the time, was position gained or lost. Harper, exactly where he started. Pretty boring race so far for them, right? Started second, they're in second now. So what's the big fuss about? Gounon there, looking at the corner, that's going to haunt him for the rest of his life. Lovely guy, Gounon, very funny. Actually uploaded a video a few months ago from when he was testing at Silverstone, lit it up, leaving the pit lane, and did a full 180 spin and came to a stop, and was funny enough to laugh at himself and post it on social media. As we see Tregurtha now on the back of Froggatt. This battle isn't over. Really has ebbed and flowed, isn't it, over the last 25 minutes? Quite hard to call who's got the advantage out of these two.
Great battle between these two. The last time we looked, there was quite a discernible gap between the pair, but now Will Tregurtha has hunted down that time, and he's closing again, coming into Redgate corner. Yeah, you're right about Jules Gounon, a good character, and he's been a real breath of fresh air to welcome into British GT when he came to Alton Park last year for his first outing in the championship, and the same true of Raffaele Marcello this year. Great to have star names from international series. Michel has been winning in America this year, in addition to what he's done in Europe. Raffaele Marcello, rumoured to be heading towards a hypercar programme for next year with a different manufacturer. So it could all be changing in GT racing, especially when you take Audi Sport out of the equation. Their factory drivers are looking for
Car
a
36 has been shown a black and white flag, driving standards. You must respect cars around you. Contact at turn 11, not permissible.
Just warning the teams about respecting other cars around them, because there's been a contact that's been going on. And here is Chris Froggatt from a few laps back on the tail of the Lamborghini.
He's obviously behind at the moment. Let's see how he gets in front. Is there anything to do with the damage? Goes down the inside. I mean, it goes down the inside, but there wasn't actually a gap there.
He made the gap.
For me, Tregurtha was on the apex and got forced wide. in touring car world that you go on every minute about. And that's a bit of a sort of push to pass, right? As in,
nothing wrong with that.
Gerther was there and he loaded him up and he forced him out wide. I don't think that was clean enough for me for those cars to be in the order they're in. I think that should be a reversal of those positions. Hard in the heat of the moment, but Chris Froggatt, for me, should give that place back as soon as he can and go again for a clean overtake. Because I think if he finishes like that in the stewards after the race, they will review that video that we've just watched and come to a similar conclusion and reverse those positions that they are currently.
But of course, every driver will have a different opinion. So Chris Froggatt will say, oh, well, you know, he slowed mid-corner, I couldn't avoid him, Gav, honest. Here is the race leader. So Sandy Mitchell, 8.7 seconds to the good, a car that we barely saw in the first hour of the race because it was in the pack, but on the pit stops, it really came good.
It had a drive-through, right? Sean Balfe contact with Mike Price early on in the race, 25 minutes in.
Yes.
They've had a drive-through. They've spent 20 seconds longer than they needed to in the pit lane here at Donington, and they're still leading this race 8.7 seconds. And that's not just on pure pace, that is luck of safety car. So Sean Balfe will be looking at that and going, Sandy has really helped me out here because I made a mistake. We didn't see the contact with Price, but obviously he was adjourned to be massively in the wrong.
And Sandy Mitchell has done the fastest lap of the race. The very modest Scotsman, but put him into a racing car, boy can he talk. He's a very, very fast driver indeed. The redoubtable Scottish journalist Jim McGill, who looked after Sandy's PR, will be coming up with all sorts of Sandy Sizzles type headlines, no doubt, for his end of day press release, and deservedly so, because it's been a mighty drive. But Darren Leung, in the meantime, is about 5.5 minutes away from becoming a British GT champion, as also is Dan Harper. And the roller coaster that they must have gone through in terms of emotions, from being in the lead disappears. Go again, safety car reduces it. Dan Harper, 13th place. Then a drive through for the Mercedes team. I mean, they've been up and down like a lift.
It really, really has. And then Harper there has even got the peace of mind to put his hazards on to say thank you to his sister car, the GT4 car. It really shows class of a driver when they've got the scope mentally to be able to do that and also be one of the fastest drivers out there.
I mean, given that one of Dan Harper's tasks for BMW is to go and race in the Nürburgring-based long-distance series, the old VLN. If anybody knows about getting through traffic in difficult corners and dealing with slower cars, it is Dan Harper, because on a 14-mile racetrack with a real miscellany of car, you've got to have your wits about you, and that has been borne out, I would offer you, in this drive through the pack.
Definitely so, and I think BMW have really unearthed a gem in Harper here. I think when he came onto the scene, he was announced as a factory driver. I wasn't fully sure on it. His Porsche Carrera Cup career was mega, but it doesn't always translate into a GT3 car. But I think BMW need to sign this guy up for a long-term contract and really make him a cornerstone of this GT program, because he has been absolutely mega as we go back to our GT4 leader on track, but also championship. Matt Cowley, not a car around him. Hopefully it stays like that for them for the next 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
So the Ford Mustang that is due to be replaced with the next iteration of this car. This is the perfect send-off, isn't it, for the old girl? A championship, if it pans out like that, for Matt Cowley and for the American driver. There he is, Eric Evans. And indeed, just at the foreshot on the radio. He's been around the sport for as long as anybody can remember. I think he ran Ben-Hur many, many years ago, Andy. But there is the Mustang heading up over the line. Not only is it winning of the race, not only is it going to win the championship, it also sounds fantastic, that car.
Really, really good. And if you are able to get track side, that's what you really get. The TV obviously gets the sounds. You don't quite get the feeling of this car, and that big V8 really thumps as it goes past you. Donington, you're so lucky spectator-wise in the final section. You can get so close to the track, literally 2 or 3 meters away on the exit of the Melbourne hairpin. You really get that, and you can smell it, and it's a beautiful car.
How's your race direction course going? Because Chris Froggatt and Wiltshire Gerther's incident that you didn't like is under investigation, so you call that right?
It's just the curse I have of always being right, unfortunately. One day I'm going to feel what it's like to be wrong, so be interesting to see what the outcome is. I think with the time remaining, I think that's probably just going to be reviewed after the race. Just let Peter Daly have all the video, all the camera angles he wants to make the best decision possible, and I think that's probably the wise move there.
So there through Tom Wrigley, who has fended off Josh Rowledge, hasn't he? They've been caught and passed by the Mustang. I mean, that's been impressive, the way that Matt Cowley there came from behind, caught them, passed the 2, pulled away, and yet those 2 are still absolutely tied together. It gives you an illustration of the pace around here of the way that Mustang is going.
Yeah, the only other car that's we've overlooked, obviously, because it's not going to win a championship, is that Optimum 90 car. That got past them and cleared away, so that had serious pace, but lost a lap. I saw it as a battery issue for that car, so it wouldn't start under its own power, so they had to plug an auxiliary battery in, which lost them so much time, and it's really, really going to hurt them. Sandy Mitchell coming into the last corner here, 2 minutes remaining, so he's going to squeeze another couple of laps out of this, but Harper's chilled his sort of attack as he's now 9.7 seconds behind.
Another car that was doing well early on in GT4, the Dan Vaughan, Zach Meekin McLaren, and yet that, rather unnoticed, came into the pits with a problem and remained there. So that's fallen out of the GT4 battle as well. 2 laps to go then for Sandy Mitchell. Time for this and one more within the 2 hours. And fastest lap of the race, the Barwell Lamborghini then. Bearing in mind, this started 11th on the grid anyway, plus that drive-through. There in second place, edging towards the championship, Darren Leung and Dan Harper. Third on the road, Marcus Clatton taking over from Morgan Tilbrook, and Philip Ellis still down in 12th place. And you kind of have to feel for James Cottingham, because he and Darren Leung, yes, they've been the 2 star AMs over the course of the season, but after everything that they've thrown at the year, it's all unravelled. I know there has to be a winner, there has to be a loser, and you'd feel for either James or for Darren, but you know, James Cottingham has had a really impressive season all round. There, Philip Ellis gains a place, moves himself up 1 spot at the expense of Chris Froggatt. That's going to put him 11th, but still not into the points.
No, and you can't even see Johnny Edgar, the car in front of him now. The 1 point that wouldn't even be enough to get close to that championship. But look at the pace he has got. So, yeah, what could have been? I mean, I don't know what Cottingham could have done more. Could he have offered Aston Martin more money to have Johnny Adam here? Johnny Adams' tutorage, would that have been the difference? Might have been a pre-race briefing.
Car 88, 5th track limit warning, drive-through converted to 30 seconds to your race time. Car 88, 30 seconds added to your race time in lieu of drive-through.
It's Johnny Edgar, who is ahead of Philip Ellis, so he is going to gain a place that way. I mean, having said all of that about Johnny Adam or Philip Ellis, it was James that committed the offence, wasn't it? It's on his shoulders.
The only thing I was about to say, I think that's where Johnny's talent is overlooked sometimes, is as a coach. Johnny would have his Tragantha with a mega run there. I'll get back to talking about Johnny in a second. Down the inside, this potentially makes Peter Day's decision about the incident there. Tragantha going, I'm not turning it, mate, so you're not allowed, and he makes his escape. Back to go on to their last lap. Looked like Froggatt was hand on his head there in despair. So what's he got left? Froggatt looks so racy, doesn't he? He's almost like win at any cost. Is he going to be able to get close enough to Tragantha to sort of allow that mentality? But yeah, I just wonder if Johnny was here, would he have had a pre-race briefing with James of, James, I know we're in the championship, let's cover the basics. Remember, keep an eye out for yellow flags. He might have even been sat next to the engineer and gone, yellow flag, T9. Tell James. All those little things that, as a driver coach, I do with my AMs, and it actually annoys the engineer so much that you're in your ear, but I don't care. I'm here for my driver, and my driver's job is to win the race. That's basically how I'm looking at a potential bigger picture.
Right now, Sandy Mitchell is looking at a 2nd victory of the season in the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. He and Sean Balfe won at Snetterton in one of the 2 1-hour races, and they are about to win the 2-hour Donington Decider. The car ahead is set to win in GT4. That will go on to its last lap, as the last round of the Intelligent Money British GT Championship is won by Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe. The British GT Championship, though, the title goes to Darren Leung and Dan Harper after the most amazing race. 2 brilliant stints, and a delighted Darren Leung celebrates a championship. He richly deserved that. So too does Dan Harper. Both of them drove outstandingly in that race. Third, Marcus Clatton and Morgan Tilbrook, Raffaele Marcello and John Ferguson. 4th, Jules Gounod and Ian Logie, the outgoing champion. 5th, Andrew Howard and Ross Gunn take 6th. It's going to be a long wait for their GT4 race-winning car and championship-winning car. It's going to be the only GT4 car which survived not being lapped right at the very end. It's not on the lead lap, but it's avoided being lapped once more. So Matt Cowley and Eric Evans, the 2 drivers of the Mustang for Matt Nicol-Jones Academy Motorsport team, are going to come through and score the class in the race and indeed within the championship. And the Grunt and Go Mustang will be a very popular winner of the GT4 championship. It's going to finish in 15th place overall. It's on the Melbourne loop now, then down towards the hairpin, coming into the tight right. Back onto the power will go Matt Cowley now, and he's had many a win with Ford Power. whether it's been in Formula Ford or now in Ford Mustangs. Race win is ready, and expect in a moment the Academy Motorsport team to erupt. A race win in the Donington Decider, the GT4 champions for Academy Motorsport. Matt Cowley, Eric Evans, across the line comes Matt Cowley. That's the reaction. Sheer delight in the garage, great to see. And Eric Evans, now the emotion hits home, but what a richly deserved championship. The young American driver, he spent a whole season with a different culture, new places, new circuits, everything new. And now you can see how much it means.
I think he's just realised his celebration dinner's in Nottingham. Would rather it was something nice, but that's amazing. It's so nice to just let the emotion flow. I think a lot of times you feel like you've got to hold it back, but yeah, mega. And I think because they didn't see it coming up until Brands Hatch, where they won and had a really good couple of last rounds, it really came to them. Same could be said about the GT3 Century car we're on board with here. Bit of a long shot win at Brands Hatch, and then a mega stint from this guy here. Darren did everything he needed to and was mega as well, negated by the safety cars like we said, but this guy, I think he'll watch his stint back on this feed that we've just produced and gone, I overtook Julgun on there, yes, I did this there, I've got back and I'd have no track limit warnings. Like, that really probably was the stint of his life, and fair play, and he's just going to cruise all the way down the pit lane here. Century team are the furthest down here. You'll see him on the left side. I think him and Darren Leung are going to be over the moon. The car, I think, will have to go and park in Parc Ferme just round, but you see the team, how much it means to all of those mechanics. They were doing a steering rack change, finished 5 minutes before. There's so much stress and emotion involved.
Race winners of the Donington Decider, Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe. Second, the champions, Dan Harper and Darren Leung. Third, Marcus Clatton and Morgan Tilbrook. After that, there was John Ferguson and Raffaele Marciello ahead of Ian Logie and Jules Gounon. Ross Gunn and Andrew Howard were sixth, ahead of Mark Radcliffe, and Marvin Kirchhoff were brought in yesterday morning at about 3 a.m. He arrived to replace Rob Bell for personal reasons. Simon Orridge, eighth with Michael O'Brien. Martin Plowman, ninth with Mark Smith. And James Cottingham waves goodbye to the championship, 10th with Philip Ellis. Mark Sanson and Will Tregerth are ahead of Kevin Stay and Chris Froggatt, and no further action involved in their incident. Then Miguel Ramos and Johnny Edgar with their time penalty 13. GT4 victory to Matt Cowley and Eric Evans. Dan Harper out of the car, Lauren Granville, the championship manager, the first to say well done. And just you wait until he goes and finds Darren Leung. The celebrations are going to be rowdy, they're going to be noisy. Poses for the photographs, the podium awaits, and Bryn is ready to have a word, but ideally we'd like them both, wouldn't we? Darren is probably on his way down the pit lane, and balaclava off.
Ready with Dan.
Dan Harper, British GT champion. That was some drive.
Dan,
gets his winner's hat, and once he's done that, turn around, Dan, talk to Bryn. What a drive, eh?
Dan, well, that was a heck of a race, really. It came to you, it went from you, it came to you, it went from you. Darren put in an amazing stint as well. I'm sure he'll be here in a minute. He's been leaping all over the place for the past hour or so. But for yourself, you had all the work to do, and my word, you did it.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say. I'm just so proud for Darren, that stint he put in. I said before getting into the car that I've never seen a stint like that, and yeah, I thought I had a small feeling inside that it was still possible and anything is possible, but it was like when you see a 16-second lead go with like 9 minutes to go before the pit stop, I was like, oh no. But wow, I mean, I can't believe it. I'm so happy.
I mean, Darren might come in a helicopter. He's so up in cloud nine at the moment. But for yourself, was there ever a moment that you thought maybe I shouldn't keep overtaking people and just kind of settle with third or fourth or heaven forbid fifth?
Yeah, I mean, I just kept asking the guys, where is Ellis? What's going on? But I mean, I just kept getting them as many as I could. I knew that depending on the situation, I needed to get ahead of as many as possible, and we fucking did it!
Oh, apologies to the Leung who's just there. Obviously, Dan's very, very excitable, as is Darren. I think we'll forgive him that little Freudian slip just there, maybe, but this passion is absolutely incredible. Now, Darren, if you could hold your tongue for a second, because I know that you are, sorry, don't apologise, I know you're very, very happy with what you've achieved. What a race, what a couple of days you've had here.
I told you it was going to be a bit of a casino, didn't I? God, I'm just really out of breath from the whole thing, to be honest. The team just did an unbelievable job all season, and this guy here just to even just make this remotely plausible, never mind actually doing it, it's just all testament to everything that those guys have done.
Can I just say to you, congratulations to both yourself and to Dan. You are the GT3 champions of British GT 2023.
Oh, man. I can't believe you're saying that. I honestly can't. Really.
Well, look, James Cottingham and Johnny Adam put up a hell of a fight as well, so there's always has to be some losers. It's never nice to have a loser, but, you know, you've worked so hard for this season. Your improvement has been all for us to see, so a massive, massive well done.
No, thank you very much. It means a lot, Bryn. Thank you.
Good stuff. We'll catch them on the podium in just a few minutes. I'm going for a little wander as well because Sandy Mitchell is around here somewhere. Race winner, don't forget. We have got a race winner from this, and here he is, in fact. Sandy Mitchell is here. You won the race, Sandy, and although our eyes are on the guys in red, of course, you put in a real fight as well. I mean, if you think about it, you had your work cut out. A drive-through penalty, you had to make up quite a lot of ground, but safety cars kind of helped you out a fair bit, and then, of course, your driving prowess.
Yeah, I don't really know what happened because I was getting in the car, and then I was told that it would be safety car when I left the pits, and I guess the safety car coming out at that time meant that everyone was going a bit slower on track, which meant that we were able to jump a lot of track positions. So yeah, we knew that boxing on the very first lap after the safety car was always a risk because the pit lane's so busy, and I think a few cars maybe lost a little bit of time there as well. So we decided to do an extra couple of laps, leave Sean in some nice clean air, and then we had a completely clean pit stop, less than a second over the minimum. So yeah, that made all the difference, and yeah, still had a bit of work to do, but we made it happen.
No championship, but another win. Well done to you. Now let's wander over to GT4, shall we? Because I've got our two champions for GT4 2023 in British GT, Matt Cowley and Eric Evans. How about that? I apologise to you both, really, because I didn't look at you two as contenders at the start of this one, and more fool me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we were the long shots coming into it, but Ford has always given us a great car. Academy have done a fantastic job. Multimatic with their support as always has helped us, and I mean, we were flying in that race. We had a 20-second penalty in the pit stops, and I managed to pull the whole way back through the pack to win the race, which is what we needed to do, and a bit of luck went our way, and yeah, we're champions and can't believe it.
For yourself, Eric, I was there with you when we saw Matt overtake enough to get you into that #1 position in the championships. Talk us through the emotion that you were going through in that last half hour.
Well, I can tell you I have no fingernails left. I mean, I was just pacing back and forth. I was just hoping that, one, that he stopped getting track limits, and two, that we crossed the line, and because that's all that mattered for that. So, but once he got to the lead, I mean, I was just, I couldn't contain myself. I was walking back and forth, sitting down. I couldn't control myself.
It's a long way to travel to win a championship. Congratulations to you all the way across the pond. For yourself, Matt, it's been a long journey for you as well.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. Obviously 4 years in this now. We've come close before, but yeah, finally had a bit of luck go our way rather than the bad luck, and yeah, this is where we end up. It's been a long journey. We've still had the bad luck along the way. But yeah, the last 3 rounds just show when we get a break of BRP, what we can really do. I think we've had fastest lap, Paul Malbrands in here now, and won 2 of the races with the maximum success penalty.
Go and enjoy it. You are GT4 champions 2023 for British GT. Well done to you both.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
All smiles from Matt Cowley and Eric Evans. This is how GT4 was within the race. Matt Cowley and Eric Evans ahead of Tom Wrigley and Ian Goff, with Aston Miller and Josh Rowledge third. Fourth, Lewis Plato and Carl Cavers ahead of Wilmore and Matt Nicol-Jones, who is the man behind Academy Motorsports. So fifth in the race, but his team wins it and wins the championship. Sixth, Harry George and Darren Burke. And Michael Johnston and Chris Salkel must have had a problem because their BMW ending up way back in 9th place. And with it gone, the championship hopes. 11th after the poor pit stop, Charles Clark and Jack Brown. Their season, really, from the midpoint on, just unravelled and kept on unravelling.
Yeah, you just can't believe when you can't stop bad luck. Just can't do it. They changed cars, came testing, tried everything, and then by the end of it, it just looks like a battery failure in the pit stop is what's lost in the championship. So unlucky, really.
Yeah. So the Donington decider, well, next year it's going to be a Brands Hatch decider for the last round of the British GT Championship, but it has lived up to expectations here. These are the champions then, Eric Evans and Matt Cowley from Jack Brown and Charles Clark, and then third, Ian Goff and Tom Wrigley. Michael Johnston and Chris Salkel dropping to fourth ahead of Josh Rowledge and Aston Miller. Carl Cavers and Lewis Plato, they've had a pretty tough season, but salvage 6th place. And the GT4 team champions will be Century Motorsport, incidentally, even though the winning drivers come from Academy Motorsport. And the winning Pro-Ams will be number 14 of Chris Salkeld and Michael Johnston. So, time to catch breath, but for the winning drivers there are some celebrations, and they will be, of course, race and championship podiums. So, Morgan Tilbrook along with Marcus Klassen, third in the race, being called forward. Then for second place, up onto the podium will be Darren Leung and Dan Harper, and then race winners, Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe, whose victories slightly overlooked because of the two, Darren called them the Red Arrows, that have taken the championship. But there, Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe, 11th on the grid, a drive-through penalty, but perfect pit strategy, absolutely the right timing by Mark Lemmer's Barwell Motorsport team. Race winners, Sean Balfe and Sandy Mitchell. Sandy, Lamborghini factory driver, flanked by BMW factory driver Dan Harper, who now stands there as a British GT champion. And Stefan Rattel comes forward with the garlands that go to the champions, to Dan Harper and Darren Leung, the 2023 Intelligent Money British GT champions for Century Motorsport, Darren Leung and Dan Harper. So the trophies are held in the air for photographs. Darren wants to get busy with the champagne, but he's going to wait a little bit longer. What a race. Perfect way to round out the season. Star names, great cars, great racing, drama all the way. Third place, Morgan Tilbrook and Marcus Klassen soak the champions. Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe will do likewise. But at this point, you don't care.
You really don't. I just think Darren Leung in his interview with Brindley was actually kind of like shocked. I genuinely think he just couldn't take it in. I think he believed he could do it, but now it's actually happened. I think it's going to be a long time until it fully sinks in.
But he's only been in his third season of racing. I mean, the guy's a relative rookie. He came into British GT only at the end of last year here, and actually won first time out with Alexander Sims. And he and Dan and Century Motorsport have just put together the most outstanding season.
And he's a mega nice guy as well to boot with it. Like, yeah, mega, really, really happy for them.
Let's have a look at how the championship looks in the end. Darren Leung, Dan Harper, joint champions. James Cottingham, second. And in the end, just a point and a half up on the man that he shared the bulk of the season with, Johnny Adam. Sean Balfe and Sandy Mitchell's win put them fourth ahead of Ian Loggie. Jules Gounon hasn't done every round, so he drops to sixth ahead of John Ferguson and Raffaele Marcello. Then Andrew Howard and Ross Gunn ahead of Mark Radcliffe. And then Rob Bell. The GT4 race podium getting underway, where the top step claimed by Eric Evans and Matt Cowley, from Tom Wrigley and Ian Goff, and then Josh Rowledge and Aston Miller. And to the champions go the garlands from Stefan Rattel and Eric Evans. You saw the emotion that was on his face. No doubt Matt Cowley felt it inside the car as well. But a fantastic job done by them all season.
I can see why Stefan was asking if I had any spare spinach left from my salad this morning. He's obviously made those roofs really well, hasn't he?
The champagne about to be sprayed by the GT4 race winners and the GT4 champions, Eric Evans and Matt Cowley. Right, let's remind ourselves of some of the drama of the last 2 hours of the Donington Decider. Into turn one on the inside line, it was Andrew Howard in the Aston Martin versus Darren Leung in the BMW. They went toe-to-toe down through the Craner curves, and in the end it was the BMW that went through and took the race lead. And Darren Leung then set about building that gap as the battles raged on lower down. Safety car early on after Ian Duggan and James Townsend came together spectacularly, diving down towards Redgate, and on the restart there was an awful lot going on as the cars were all bunched up. Ian Loggie got attacked from Morgan Tilbrook, that sent him out wide, but he also was able to wriggle away up past Andrew Howard's Aston Martin, and there was more drama when Mike Price cannoned into Ian Campbell's McLaren. Then on another safety car restart, a mistake from Jules Gounon. He fell off the road coming up to the green flag. That dropped him down the order as Dan Harper carved his way through the field, moving ahead of Philip Ellis, who then also picked up a drive-through penalty for James Cottingham's infringement, overtaking other yellow flags. down on the inside. Dan Harper attacked for place after place and moved himself up the order, eventually being able to outscore the yellow Mercedes. And that gave Darren Leung and Dan Harper the championship, as Eric Evans and Matt Cowley's Mustang picked its way in a similar fashion through GT4 and into the lead and into the championship victory as well. Not only a win in the race, but the title to go with it. And then in the Silver Amp contest, it was all about Will Tregertha and Chris Froggatt, and that got decidedly lively. In the end, a race win for Sandy Mitchell and Sean Balfe, and a championship for Darren Leung and for Dan Harper. It's been a brilliant season in the Intelligent Money British GT Championship, and there'll be more of the same in 2024. Podiums here at Donington, still going, and for GT4 Pro-Am right now we have Tom Gamble, McLaren factory driver, who has joined for this weekend Kavi Jundu. Then second for Pro-Am, Carl Cavers and Lewis Plato. And then for the top step, Tom Wrigley and Ian Goff. They were for a time heading for the overall GT4 crown. In the end, they've got to consolidate it with Pro-Am, but a great season that they have had, and good to have both of them racing this year. The Barbers Collective, you'll notice, on their overalls, which is the charity to help men's mental health by talking to your barber and instead of bottling up your problems, you chat when you're in the chair. And there's been this pop-up barbers salon at every round of the championship in the UK this year, which has been great to see, raising awareness of the Barber Collective, which has been very worthwhile indeed, and attention certainly raised both for the institution and also for men's mental health as well. Carl Cavers then switching to GT racing away from one-make Porsches for this year, making his way off the podium as well. There is the overall race winner, just to remind you, because often in championship title days, the overall race winner, if it's not a champion, gets overlooked. But Sean Balfe and Sandy Mitchell, the race winners, and the celebrations for Barwell coming at the end of a very busy day for the team, with also the 72 car getting involved in that Silver Am battle as well. So the Silver Am podium with the third placed Nearies, Sam and his dad Richard. For second place, Chris Froggatt and Kevin Say. And then the win will go the way of Will Tregertha and Mark Sanson for their Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini. Will Tregertha, another of these much underrated drivers, but that was a hard stint. Trophies presented, and garlands as well. Stefan Rattel shakes the hands of the victorious drivers, and that gives Mark Sanson and Will Tregurtha the honours in the championship after a really gutsy effort put up by Chris Froggatt and Kevin Say, came into the round as the championship leaders. On the podium then, Mark Sanson and Will Tregurtha win Silver Am in GT3 from Chris Froggatt and Kevin Say, and then Lanier is taking third in the class. Dan Harper and Darren Leung, GT3 champions, and the GT4 champions, Eric Evans and Matt Cowley. It has been a superb season of racing in the Intelligent Money British GT Championship and a great way to round out the year. The Donington Decider has once more lived up to expectation. Champions crowned and great racing to send us into the winter. We'll see you in 2024 for next year's all-action season. Goodbye from Donington.